In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What is the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news, good or bad, terrible or awful. The worst Panthers team performance ever? I think it is the case. Good Lord. My wheelman, Cody Lashney. What's up, my brother?
Tony Dunn, it's another Tuesday night, man. There's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than sitting here, chilling with the boys, talking about the Carolina Panthers. I don't care if my team has lost 3 in a row. I have nowhere better to be. And you know what, Tony? We have the most lit Panther fans in all of YouTube. You know them and love them. It's John Jenkins, Kenneth Panthers, Rhule, Dostoevsky, Lee Trotter, Bob Ross in the building. Oh, shit. Trent Sullivan, Tim Estes, Lance Kubiak, Kego Ford, Chad Morales, ATX19, Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Paint us a beautiful picture, Bob Ross. Like that beautiful hair, CK. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, just doing really good. I decided I wanted to grow my hair out last night, so we got it nice and luscious, nice little mullet, party in the back, all business in the front, just like the Carolina Panthers defense, all business in the front, and they just party in the back. Let's hope they can actually do something against these Atlanta Falcons this coming Sunday, but let's do it.
Thank God it's on the road. Usually we play them okay on the road. It's at home that is a problem. This past week we went up north into a Yankee Hall, Greg. We went into Yankee Hall and they just smoked us. Worst game, I think, in Panther history. I think it's the worst performance in Panther history. Like, I swear, is like, I mean, like, if you go through and look at it, you can say the most disappointing. You can say all this. Like, we had 100 and there was like 7. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to pull up the stats, but it was like under 150 yards rushing, or not rushing, just total offense.
Yep.
Nothing went right. Your boy Matt Rhule looked like a beaten puppy this past week in the press conference. Gosh, Greg, how do we get through this?
Well, first of all, not my boy Matt Rhule. We've established that. Second of all, man, I am so glad, based on what you're saying right here, and based on listening to the post-game show and everything I've read, that I missed this game this weekend. There's one game every year I miss that I'm so glad that I do. Last year was the Atlanta game, I think, when they beat the living shit out of us last year. I missed that game. So it's just, every year it seems to be one game I missed that I'm so glad I did. This sounds like that one. The wheels are falling off, boys.
Yeah, will they come back on? You know, that's funny is we were talking to Nick Falato this past weekend. He kept talking about how the wheels falling off the bus for the New York Giants. I said I thought they were already off the bus. It turns out we crashed into that bus, lost everything on the way. Good God, it's a mess. All right, so the number's 252-228-5098. We got a good show for you tonight. We've got Will McFadden to help us preview from Bleav. Well, he's from Bleav in the Falcons podcast. He is going to help us preview the Falcons matchup. We've also got John Ellis from...
Oh, no John tonight. I sent you a message.
Oh, didn't see the message. Not your fault, my fault. All right, well, that's it. And then we got your beautiful John, face. Yeah. All right, we got all y'all's beautiful faces. Let's go ahead and just I guess jump into it. The number's 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Look, we're very close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. Each and every one of you helps us get there. But I tell you this is that the show has been popping. And I wanted to be popping not because the damn Panthers suck, but because we're awesome. And it turns out, I think it's because the Panthers suck. Cody, Jesus Christ, 2 days removed. What else? We're going to have to talk about Deshaun Watson. We're going to have to talk about some other stuff. But damn, do you feel any better? I don't.
No, I don't feel any better. I mean, if anything, I like to know the truth early, and I feel like I do know the truth. And it's that Matt Rhule really doesn't have a good eye for roster development and putting guys at the right place at the right time. And then for him to double down in one of his press conferences, I forget which one it was, after the game, but to then go out and basically verbatim say that Brady Christensen struggled at left tackle, but Michael Jordan,
he was awful.
No, yeah,
he was horrendous, bro.
Okay, but I already told you why though. You don't throw him in the middle of the season without giving him any rep and practice time to be able to train at one of the toughest positions on the offensive line, and then blame it on him right in the middle of the season.
It's not that.
But that's beside the point, though. The point that I'm trying to make is that this entire thing has been mismanaged. It's been mismanaged from the coaching standpoint.
I agree with that.
It's been mismanaged from a management standpoint in the front office, but also David Tepper has mismanaged this entire thing. And I've said it on this podcast recently. He spent $2.5 billion on a football team, and he doesn't want to win a Super Bowl in a couple of years. He wants to win one now. But the problem is the NFL doesn't give a fuck what you want, man. You have to build a football team the proper way. And every step along the way, David Tepper didn't do that. It was too late to fire Ron Rivera. It was too late to fire Marty Hurney. And now we're in a situation where Matt Rhule has basically been the one calling the shots on our last two drafts. Him and his coaching staff have been one of the people that have been determining our quarterback position, which is still absolutely terrible and completely in limbo right now. Say what you want about Teddy Bridgewater. None of us were huge fans of him. But as of right now, he hasn't demonstrated himself to be an upgrade over what was here last year. And this offensive line is even worse than it was before.
It might be
everybody to look at
it.
It's been mismanaged.
In 7 years. Yeah, and I agree. Look. I mean, nobody's gonna disagree with the Tepper. Actually, I think we've kind of been on the trail, Cody, since the beginning about how the process went. Right, this isn't new. But like you said, this is kind of trickled down. Now we're starting to ask, is this about the coaching staff and do they understand how to manage a roster? That's one thing. I have a lot of the Wonder Boy, Joe Brady. My number one problem with him is not play calling, like a lot of people say. Is what I think is his weakness is he doesn't know to coach with what he's got, obviously, because we know that he has a quarterback that is he's got a line that is terrible, whatever. But still, is that greatness you got to overcome. And he hasn't overcome, just like Sam Darnold hasn't overcome that offensive line. Right? I mean, it's just that simple. And do not defend Brady Christensen. We've all been saying he was not good.
Not good.
He was not good this past week.
He also wasn't as bad as everyone claims he is. I've watched a bunch of this game back over, and he made some bad plays, but he also wasn't dog shit either.
Look, I mean, I'm not going to blame the whole game on him. That's not what I'm trying to say. Let's just admit, my man got smoked.
Is that his fault? Is he just not good enough?
Yeah, well, it's not his fault. This man is not his fault.
Well, I think he has some play in it, but again, you have impossible standards. You just expect to dump a guy.
No, I don't want him to be great. I'm just saying this. He wasn't good. He wasn't good. How is that an impossible standard? How is being terrible?
Tony, that is my point. None of us should expect him to be good. Why would
I didn't even expect him to be good, bro.
He was put in a position to fail. That's the only point that keeps
He
on
looked
getting
worse
lost
than
on
Cam
him.
Irvin.
What do you mean he was put in a position to fail? How was he put into a position to fail, Cody?
Have I not told you 50 times? Why hasn't CK? I'll ask you. CK, I'll ask you directly. Why hasn't Brady Christensen been given any snaps at left tackle this season? Especially when Cam Irvin.
Whoa. Don't even come on down like this because we all said this look, and I was the guy that said that you should have gone ahead and tried him there from the beginning.
That's my point.
Oh, Taylor.
Agreed.
No, Mr. Taylor Moton should be in left tackle. Shush.
So if he was there from the beginning, would he have been better?
Brady Christensen.
No. You say here's the part. I agree. I think we were all pissed off when we saw that he was not playing left tackle and Taylor Moton was playing right. And that was against who? Who was that against?
Wait, who was
that? Was the third game of the year? I think that was the third game of the year.
Ask me again.
When did that happen? Where Taylor Moton was
Taylor
on the left
Moton started at
and
left tackle.
Christensen was on the right.
Philly.
Okay, so they have much bigger dogs on their defensive line than the Giants did. So in my opinion, like if you wanted to see him at left tackle, I feel like he was set up to succeed more today or this past Sunday than he was against the Eagles if he had been at left tackle. Right. So, I mean, I don't think he's been set up to fail. He is literally playing the position that he was always playing. And that's what we've asked him to do. And he didn't do good. Like, it was very bad. We were losing. Like, he's now a laughing stock of this offensive line because he's tackling our own quarterback for him. Like,
but you guys didn't want.
Oh, dude, somebody sent me this picture that it was did he what is it? Target Sam Darnold. Look, is I don't really give a fuck about Brady Christensen and his long-term success at this point. But I was hoping he was going to look a little bit better at left tackle than he did at right. And it turns out, because I thought that was his more natural. That's our whole point.
He was a rookie making rookie mistakes.
That's fine. Look,
that's all it is.
Look, why are you so defensive? I feel like I'm talking to my wife right now, dude.
I'm not your wife. I'm trying to come at this from my common
with my
sense
wife right now, and you were
like,
defending
y'all were dogging on Brady Christensen and
nobody's dogging on him
when the coach is having put him in a position to be successful.
Oh my gosh!
Hey,
dogging.
We strayed away from it. We strayed away from it for a moment, but can I mention something about the whole Tepper situation that Cody was talking about a minute ago?
Do it.
And I want to kind of second, what something CK was saying the other day. I get that you're saying that you felt like he didn't move fast enough on Ron Rivera, but let's really, really take into consideration what he bought whenever he bought this team. He bought Ron Rivera, who has 4 of the Carolina Panthers' 8 playoff appearances. Half of the entire franchise's playoff appearances from Ron Rivera. He has a winning record, 1 Super Bowl appearance, 2 NFL Coach of the Years. Okay, and when he bought the team, he had, like CK said the other day, Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly. Like, we looked like we were going somewhere. So no, I wouldn't, if I was him, come in and immediately gut stuff. Whenever he got here, we looked like we had something we could build off of. It would have been dumb to come in here and rip everything apart right away.
We were coming off of a playoff season.
I don't care what anybody says. Ron Rivera was not a terrible coach.
We were coming off of a playoff season, and he got fired a year and a half into David Tepper's tenure. And the first year was also an issue with Cam being injured. Like, I mean, I don't think you could have moved much faster. Now, the question about, Marty Hurney, that's up for debate. That's one that I think makes a little bit of people a little bit infuriated. And I've been a defender in some regard with regard to him. But I mean, even with that, I mean, like, it's not like he's waiting 5 years to make these moves. The problem I have is I'm worried that he is going to be a type of owner who is going to constantly move from one thing to the next.
Yeah,
rounds of the NFC.
100%. I've been saying we got the NFC South's very own Jerry Jones, man. Dude, I've got bullets. I've got shots for Tepper, man. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I really think that these last few months, and especially these past couple of days, if anything, our owner has revealed himself. And I don't care how you personally feel about Deshaun Watson. If you feel like, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty, or hey, 22 is way too many allegations. the fact that David Tepper and sources close enough to the team have Joe Person and many others reporting that they're in the running for Deshaun Watson, even in spite of all that stuff, and it's very revealing, man. I'm here to tell you.
Can I ask a question? Because I think it's important, and I think it would allow me to be a little bit more comfortable with a trade like this, if it's possible. Is it possible? I know you can do conditional draft picks. Can you put a condition that if Deshaun Watson is on our team after this year, then let's say we said we would give up 3 first-round picks for him. Let's just say that, right? And in the first year, 2022's first round guaranteed, right? We're going to give that away no matter what. But then we're going to give 2023 and 2024's first round draft pick if he's on the field, he's still on the team when those times come, or if he's found to be innocent or whatever that may go. Can you do that with a trade like that? Or, I mean, I know we're still going to be responsible for his contract in that instance, I'm assuming.
It's like that guy, that crazy 70s dude that was our kicker 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, right? And then when I say that, I feel like he was just doing cocaine and trying to be with our moms in the 70s. That's what I felt like that guy was. What was that guy's name? The kicker that we had? He was 6 foot, whatever.
Santoso,
like, don't let him near. He's like a Puerto Rican dude ready to take your mom down in the 70s. But we cut him because if we didn't play him more than 2 weeks, we didn't have to give the draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what CK is asking, right? Is that ultimately, like, if it comes down and you trade, like, say we trade 5 first-round picks for whatever, but he goes on the commissioner non-exempt list and doesn't play till.
Well, there's been an update to this whole story. Roger Goodell, it was on Twitter, and Rappaport reported it. There is not enough evidence. I mean, this is coming straight from Goodell. There is not enough evidence to put Deshaun Watson on the commissioner's exempt list.
Ever?
So, I mean, based on what they have, so if Deshaun were to be traded, he would be able to play, and they're not going to put him on the commissioner's exempt list. Now, people feel a lot of different ways about this, and to answer CK's question, that's what I've been hearing, is that all these teams that come to the Texans, they want conditions on the pick. Well, okay, if he's put on the commissioner's exempt list, then give us back some of our picks that we sent to you. But everything I heard was that the Texans were not willing to do that. They didn't want any conditions. They wanted a straight up trade. And then there's a lot of conflicting reports too, man. CJA is in the chat room. That's Sports Nut on Twitter. He keeps on believing, and I don't blame him, that it's all smoke, that it's Houston and Deshaun Watson's camp trying to cook up more of a rumor frenzy about a trade, and that would get people to bid more, and then that would potentially cause a trade to happen before the trade deadline, so Deshaun could have a chance of playing this year. Again, man, nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen, but every source that we have close to the situation maintain that the Carolina Panthers are in very real talks to trade for Deshaun Watson, and that just is what it is.
Apparently, they said no to the Eagles already. Like Deshaun Watson said, he didn't want to go there, so the Eagles are already out of the equation. We'll see. I mean, the way the Dolphins.
What are you gonna say no to the Eagles? I guess is he scared of the media?
Let's be honest. I mean, do you look at the Eagles as a place that you would? I mean, number one, you're in.
I don't look
Philadelphia.
At the Panthers as a place I would want to go to. That's for sure.
But let's look at the area, right? You're going to be in an area that's not like Miami. You kind of put it 2 and 2 together, taxes, and along with the culture that's down there, right? You're not going to get that same quality of culture in the Philadelphia. Philadelphia is not a people here could probably tell me one way or another, but I don't think it's one of these places people migrate to spend a lot of their. I think a lot of people move away from Philadelphia, not move into Philadelphia. but I feel like Charlotte is like a place where you could raise a family, and I feel like the place where the cost of living isn't ridiculous. But
yeah, because Deshaun Watson is about family raising.
He's about
Did
to,
you
dude.
see the?
He's about to. He's got
Did you
22
see
of
the
them.
Twitter joint that's going around? It just popped up. Somebody said, "Why is this popped up on my timeline?" And he was
Deshaun
with
and
Mia
Mia Khalifa.
Yeah, and then so it turns out we all knew this shit was all real in the first.
But that in and of itself doesn't.
Yes, and B why? Greg, tell us about pull up these conditional.
Oh, I've got them up. Yeah, there you go. So this is just an article I saw the other day, and it's just 3 conditional picks that are 3 picks. Not 3 picks, 3 different trade options that they think that Houston would take for Deshaun Watson, which I'm not behind Deshaun Watson as Carolina going for him anyway, especially looking at these picks. But I just want to go through these with y'all and see what y'all thought about these. So the first one's a 2022 first round pick, a 2023 first round pick, a 2024 second round pick, and Gross Matos.
And then there's a conditional on that first round. We got on the 2023 first round. We got to notate and make that a point. I'm assuming that has to do with if he's not on the team, or on the commissioner's exempt list, we're not going to be having to require that. Or maybe those first round picks are, if it's not in the top 20, then they're going to get it or something like that.
Yeah, it does say conditional beside the 2023 one,
right?
So it very well could be. Yeah, I don't like this at all. This is completely mortgaging the entire franchise for one player that we honestly right now don't know if he's going to play. And to be real, let's be real about it. How long has it been since he played?
Who would Deshaun? I have no worries about Deshaun coming in and being not ready.
Okay.
He's been training this entire time.
I get time, but the most worries would be coming onto a team that stinks.
Yeah.
And how much would it really help us right away? Another thing that is interesting about this deal right here is Gross Matos, YGM. Where the hell is he at? And I know they put him on IR, but he feels like a missing person. Mm-hmm. Is anybody asking about him in the press conferences? Not at all.
I mean, why does he need to be on the field?
No, I haven't really heard his name that much. Hey, real quick.
Hold up. I got you. First of all, we're going to circle back to the Deshaun Watson news. Right. We've got to talk about Joe Brady potentially being out as a play caller. I've worked all day. Not all day. Work for a moment on this. Will Tepper throw a tantrum? It's a Tepper tantrum. Will Tepper throw a Tepper tantrum?
Yeah,
and get us Deshaun Watson. But until then, we have to prepare for the next loss. Ouch! I will never say that against the Atlanta Falcons, who I hope to smoke each and every time we play them. My worst hated team. To help us preview it, Will McFadden. Go ahead and bring him in, Cody. Will McFadden from Bleav in Falcons podcast. Thank you, Will, for joining the C3 Panthers podcast. Sorry you had to listen to us moan and cry, and I'm sure that did not hurt your heart one bit.
Oh, no. I mean, if anything, I feel like I can commiserate. There's been a lot of moaning and crying going on in these parts for the past couple of years. But it was interesting to hear you say that the Falcons are your most hated team. I don't know if that's a very common kind of like empire-like team to just hate.
I think usually it's the Falcons, and the Falcons always say they don't hate us, but we hate them. And it's I know, man. Personal. I know.
It's personal.
The Saints are your preferred rivals. We're like the third brother. But it's okay, man.
There's such a connection between the two cities, right? Like there's a lot of people. Half my family lives up in Charlotte. So I spend every Christmas for 15 years in a row of my childhood going up there for Christmas. I would usually go with my grandpa to a Panthers game. A lot of times they would be playing the Falcons because they always seem to play like right around that week of Christmas. And So I like kind of love the Panthers. It's almost like my second team. I hope they do well because there's like familial ties to that.
I will tell you exactly why that's the case. Is Michael Vick is the reason.
That's fair.
And it's not. Look, I like Mike Vick. It turns out the dogfighting part endeared me to him. It's not the dogfighting part. Is that I am an East Carolina Pirate. That's who that's my school. I live in Greenville, North Carolina. I'm a ECU Pirate alum, and Mike Vick shredded us when he was at Virginia Tech. I mean, and I hated him. And then he goes to Atlanta and shreds us again. So it's like a personal thing. It's like it, and for some reason, it seemed like the first 5 Panther games I ever went to were all Atlanta games. My wife would take me, we were young. Yeah. And I was at the game where he dove from
I was
the
at that game too.
5-yard line where he hovered like Superman.
Yes.
It was
and they
bull
did it.
crap.
They went on the replay and it felt like forever. Like they replayed it.
Yes. And I was like, no,
30
he's
minutes.
not in.
Yep.
He's not in. He's not in. And then
great game.
He was
best game I've ever been to in person. What's up?
Worst. It was bad. Actually, I won't say it's the worst game I've been, but that's why it's a personal thing.
Counterpoint, though, anyway, you guys may not have gotten Mike or Thomas Davis without Michael Vick. He was drafted to be the antidote to Michael Vick, and then he goes on to be a future Hall of Famer.
That's a good point, man. All-time great Panther.
Let's not get too friendly here. Let's not get too friendly and too cordial. We were very happy that y'all. We were very happy that y'all stunk, but it turns out we stink maybe more. That's what the fear that I have going into this game. Matt Ryan carving it up at this point. Y'all have been bad though. New coach, new this and that. Tell me, where are the Falcons at? Because we're circling the drain.
Yeah, I think that they're at kind of the point right now where we really don't know what kind of team they are because they're winning games, but they're winning they have won their 3 games against teams that are combined 4-16, and their combined margin of victory in those 3 wins is only 12 points. So yeah, they're winning games, which if you're kind of bad, but you're winning games, that's way better than the alternative because it buys you some time and some confidence to get things figured out. I think that's where we are with the Falcons. There will be drives that look awesome. There are some opening drives for the offense where everything's scripted. They're getting everybody involved and they march right down the field and usually lately are coming away with touchdowns, but usually at least a field goal. What's weird for Atlanta is there are just these long lulls, and a lot of times they've been coming in the second half. You think about the Jets in the third quarter, they really let their big lead slip away. In the fourth quarter against the Dolphins, the defense just kind of will get lackadaisical at times, and it really has been the glaring issue for the Falcons so far. Their offense is starting to get much more consistent, and I think that was the big worry here early on because Arthur Smith, offensive guy, everybody's excited to see what they can do. But lately, the offense has been great, and I'm sure we'll talk about Kyle Pitts. He's been a big part of that. The defense is taking some time to come around, but I think people are starting to see that there are little pieces there to work with, and now the question is just how quickly can they kind of take maybe another jump or two, and then we might start talking about them as a real kind of getting in the mix team.
Cody,
hey, real quick. Real quick before we go forward, and any donations that we have missed, I have a list of them. I'll make sure that they'll get read off. Again, we never ask for money. We always appreciate it. But Grim Reaper with the $5 says, how big is the Dirty Birds fan base compared to Panthers? And that's an interesting one because I would say, obviously the Falcons are, they've been around longer. They've had more time to build up a fan base. But honestly, for as much as I might dislike the Falcons, there's a lot of similarities between our football teams. I think you would probably agree that whenever the blue blood franchises come into your home, it's normally your home being overrun by Giants fans or Philly fans or Packers fans. whoever it is, right? Like, I feel like we're two teams that are still doing our best to kind of build a winning culture with these football teams. We've had a lot of real bad ups and downs along the way, but what do you think about that?
It's interesting because I would say that if you go to a Panthers game at any point over the last kind of 3 years, there's probably a better chance that a Panthers game has a more full stadium than a Falcons game would. But I would say I think the Falcons fan base as a whole is probably larger because, like you said, just they've been around longer. I think you've got more Falcons fans who just like live in Seattle or whatever, and just like their parents grew up Falcons fans, now they're Falcons fans, and they're
you're an older team
because the Falcons sucked for so much of their history. They didn't really. I mean, they didn't really build such a big following nationally just because they weren't in the mix a lot. And Atlanta's more of a transplant city, so that's where the avidity inside of the city itself is probably a little bit lower, even if the size of the fan base is bigger. But I think they're very comparable.
So I have a question.
One comparable point, Cody, and here it is.
Yep.
Fuck you, Saints. Keep counting.
Hey, that's always the most comparable point. But Will, I want to talk to you about just the trajectory that the Falcons have had, because the Panthers and the Falcons are a yin yang of one another. The Panthers started on fire, had one of the best defenses in the NFL, and meanwhile everyone was over there pointing and laughing at Atlanta like, haha, look at Atlanta, they can't get it together. And then now the Panthers have just nosedived. And, the Falcons have had some close victories, but they're victories nonetheless, man. I mean, you guys have started to get back on the right track. I think Kyle Pitts is finally starting to look like the guy that, you hoped that you had drafted. Tell me a little bit about what has changed from the first 3 games of the season to the latter 4, and really what's kind of been the difference in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things to touch on with that, and I would start from the beginning. So the Eagles game, it's come out that their new defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, who's been in the league forever, won Super Bowls in New England and Baltimore, they went into that Eagles game, and he has said in retrospect that they had kind of too much on the plate for his players to handle. And the result was Jalen Hurts looking like he actually could be the future franchise of Philadelphia, which I think we have since learned is probably not the case. So the Falcons defense just really let Philly get anything they wanted in that one, and the offense couldn't get much going. They get blown out. Then they play Tampa Bay in week 2. Really tough matchup. Nobody was expecting them to win that one. They made a game of it in the third quarter, and then 2 Matt Ryan pick sixes where the ball just got tipped at the line of scrimmage and kind of fell right into a linebacker or safety's hand, turns that game into a rout. They bounced back with their first win on the road against the Giants, where they just started to minimize some of those mistakes, and their defense played the best game I think they've played all season. The Washington game is the big kicker here. The Falcons returned back home and really looked like the better team for much of that game, but they allowed a kickoff return for a touchdown to start the second half, which ended up ultimately kind of being the outcome. And they allowed some really crazy extended plays to Taylor Heineke. The offense got things really rolling. Cordell Patterson was just a complete beast in that game, scoring 3 touchdowns, but the defense couldn't hold up and special teams let them down. So that one slipped away. Then they've won their next 2. It hasn't looked pretty all the way through, but it's been, I think, their most complete 2 games, which is what you want to see. And there's a sense here in Atlanta that even though that Washington game was a loss, especially now having won the last 2, it's much easier for, I think, people here to talk themselves into, yeah, it's not actually a win, but it kind of feels like a win. And if it had been a win, now the Falcons are winning 4 in a row. They're 4-2. And I think a lot of people nationally probably start paying attention to this team a little bit more. But right now they're flying under the radar. And I think that that's a place where the fan base wants to be and the team wants to be as well.
How much is the tide turned in the last couple? I feel like 2 weeks ago you asked me about the Atlanta Falcons dead in the water, right? Is the way I'm thinking about them. The Carolina Panthers, you're coming off the Dallas loss. You're like, oh, it's kind of supposed to be that way to a certain extent. Right now, I think a lot of us who are down on our, I won't say down on our own team, we're cheering for our team. We're a little surprised that I think what has anybody, what's the line on this game? Somebody look it up. Or I thought that we are only 3-point dogs, or anyway.
I think it's
my
2.5
point is this
is what it opened at. I think
is
it's
it you guys favored?
Yeah, I think it's Falcons -2.5 is what I think I saw.
How much has the tide changed? Because the way for the Panthers fans, and kind of what I'm thinking of is this, is that when we were 3-0, we felt really good. When we were 3-3, we felt like we were 2-3. You know what I mean? Like we really don't feel like we are a team that is even close to being 500, and we're one win away from 500. How much have the tides turned for Atlanta Falcons fans?
Well, first off, I can say that I have been where you guys are right now. I think back to that 2015 season, the Falcons started the year 5-0 and ultimately ended up, I think, 7-9 or 8-8. And it was crushing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was one of
it's
the,
tough.
I think at the time, it was like the first time a team had started 5-0 and missed the playoffs or something in like the modern playoff format history. And they also were 6-1 then at one point. And so you're talking about losing 7 of your last 9 games. And it was I think one of the lowest feelings that this franchise had ever felt, because that was Dan Quinn's first year. People wanted Kyle Shanahan fired after the 2015 season. Obviously, in hindsight, that would have been a massive sliding doors moment in NFL history. And I mean, it was because of the downward spiral that it seemed like this organization was just doomed. Maybe that turned out to be a little bit true in hindsight. But I mean, I think as far as the Falcons are concerned, having it happen this way is much better, obviously. We talk about all the time, the results in September are so fluky. You get out here and you see Buffalo and Pittsburgh in week 1, and you're like, man, both of these teams might be amazing in the AFC. And it's like, no, Buffalo's way better. You know, it's just a weird fluky thing. So losing your first 2 games in that way and then slowly building, even if it is just small little incremental progress, like I said, they're finding ways to win these games. They're still the biggest difference, I think, with the Falcons and the Panthers is as long as you're kind of set at quarterback, and the Falcons are still set at quarterback for as old as Matt Ryan is getting up there in age. And, you know, for all of the questions about his future, the dude came in to prepare to play, and he is playing as sharp, I think, from a decision-making standpoint as I've ever seen him in his career. And so he's giving the Falcons a chance to win in every single game. And that's where I think the big question mark in Carolina is just how Sam Darnold's been playing recently. And that, more than anything, might be why the franchises kind of feel like they're in different spots. But I'm still high on Carolina's talent. I do think that they've got players on this roster and can turn it around. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happened to Carolina so far. The Falcons feel like they're in a great spot, but I can definitely understand where you guys feel like you're at right now.
Can you tell me a little bit about Kyle Pitts and the season that he's had? I mean, you lose Julio Jones, an all-time great Falcon and just an NFL player in general, right? And then you bring in Kyle Pitts to be this big part of your offense. Do you think that he just kind of had a slow start? Is that another indication of, you know, like you were saying, September football, just finding your rhythm and figuring things out and just figuring out the best circumstances and situations to get him involved in? And how, I mean, this might be kind of a dumb question, but how do you expect to be using him going forward this season? Is he more of your primary target over Calvin Ridley, or is the formula just to kind of spread the ball around evenly? I'll let you kind of tell me how Kyle Pitts fits in that offense.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is that from the beginning, from day one, they've been using Kyle Pitts all over the place. They will line him kind of offset in like an H tight end type of role right off the tackle. They'll line him up in the slot off the ball. They'll move him out as the solo wide receiver, as kind of the X, away from the strength of the play. I mean, they're letting him isolate. They're letting him play in trip sets. He is truly their just Swiss Army knife as an offensive weapon right now. I think early on, it wasn't so much that Kyle Pitts was struggling, because that was something I was watching really closely when I'd watch kind of the all 22 and see, okay, how are defenses playing him? What kind of looks is he getting? Honestly, they weren't doing anything crazy. He was getting plenty of one-on-one chances, and he was actually winning those. What I think the big difference was, and having been around Matt Ryan, covering him for the last 4 years, I believe that this would be true, even though I haven't heard it officially anywhere. I just think it took a little bit of time for Ryan to feel really, really comfortable throwing to Pitts a lot on Sundays. I think he wanted just those extra reps. I think he wanted to make sure that Kyle knew exactly on a game day against a defense that's kind of scheming to slow you down, are you still able to get where you need to be? And I think he wanted to maybe watch some game film a little bit before just saying, okay, I can actually trust this guy to be my 10 target a game guy as the top option. But so far, the last couple of games, we've seen that he can be, and that more importantly, the Falcons can win games when he is the number one option, which is kind of the mark, I think, of a true superstar in this league, is even when everybody knows you're getting the ball, you get the ball and then you make a play and your team can win based on that. I think that because Calvin Ridley has struggled so far this year, and he just hasn't looked like the same player he really has so far throughout his career, I'm curious to see if the Falcons start using Kyle Pitts as more of that X receiver in this offense, which was the Julio role. And Calvin really benefited from kind of being the off-ball receiver. They could put him in motion. He could get the more advantageous off-ball matchups and really create space against the defense, which is what he's so good at. And it's not that he hasn't been able to get open, but I just don't know if he's either the
He's a great number two, bro.
Right.
He's a great number two.
He's making more. He's in traffic, it seems, a little bit more when the ball's coming to him so far. And I don't know, like, there were so many times where they would throw him a ball over the past 3 years and nobody would be within 6 yards. Like, nobody was even on the screen. And it was kind of like somebody fall down.
That's because they were all worried about something else.
I mean, maybe. So Kyle Pitts could be that.
Is Kyle Pitts a tight end?
No, I think
he is. I think he's a wide receiver.
Well, I think it's just the way we talk about basketball, right? You know, is KD a 4? Is he a 5? I mean, Anthony Davis, that's the big question out in LA. Like, I mean, all of these kind of positionless players, like Luka is essentially your point guard. He's a forward. Like, what are we? So I think that's how football is starting to transition, is these positionless guys. I think Christian McCaffrey falls into that same type of mold. I mean, he really can, and Alvin Kamara, and somebody on defense like a Jamal Adams or a Derwin James. Like, it's just kind of going that way where you're getting guys who can do everything. And if you have one, it really unlocks your offense. And that's why I think that the Falcons under Arthur Smith really wanted to get Kyle Pitts, because they had a plan to use him any way possible. I mean, he's going on like jet sweeps. Like, they're not afraid to take their new car out for a drive.
True. And listen, I have a lot of questions for you about Arthur Smith, but before we go any further, if you didn't know, our chat room, dude, they're a bunch of freaks, okay? And they have this weird fetish that they weirdly like to be shamed all the time. And they also like it when CK does it. So, hey, CK, with that brand new, beautiful head of hair, why don't you talk to him right quick?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of legends in here that have not hit that like button yet. And I'm coming at you with a new head of hair, with a new sense of confidence, and my lady probably in there naked right now, ready for me. And you guys are not hitting that like button? Life's a garden. Dig it. Subscriber shame.
Subscriber shame. 127 people watching, 57 likes. Hit the thumbs up if you like the content, man. Folks. We're having a fantastic conversation with the Panthers. Big time rival, the Atlanta Falcons, man. Will McFadden's giving us great information. Hit that like button. It's free. Hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that way you get updated.
Hair better than damn Drew Brees at this point.
Hit the notification bell so you get updated every time we go live, which is seemingly like 5 times a week now. So hit the bell. You already know what it is. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Arthur Smith. I mean, I really don't have like a big setup to my question. Just, you know, we were in that kind of point where you're learning about a head coach. Matt Rhule is in his second year. We have a lot of strong opinions about Matt Rhule now, but I just kind of want to get your feel for Arthur Smith and what you think about him thus far, what you like, what you dislike, what you might have concerns about, just anything. The floor is yours.
Yeah, you know, at ESPN, they teach you not to ask any closed-ended questions, only open-ended. So a lot of times you'll get ESPN reporters who will just literally say, talk about Arthur Smith. That's their question. So I get where you're coming from right there. Just talk about Arthur Smith.
Way, huh? Yeah.
No, I think that from the beginning, what's awesome to see, and this, again, is like when you're winning, it affords you the ability to do that. He's just been on message from the opening press conference to, you know, his press conference today. He's just been the same guy. He's been preaching the same stuff. He said, you know, look, we understand that we've got a long way to go. We understand kind of the situation that we're in, the financial limitations that have not allowed us to fully create the roster that we want, but we know what we've got. We've got to work with what we've got. And we're focused on each week being the best week of practice, of performance on Sunday. And when you're winning these games, even though they're close, it's easier to believe that that's happening. Now, every single game is different from the next. And that's something that Arthur Smith would tell you as well. When they got blown out by the Eagles, it was kind of like, hey, look, we didn't have them prepared, but this game's behind us. Let's move on to the next one. And you just kind of get the sense that there's not going to be these big ups and downs, both in games and in season, that we've seen over the past, even when the times were good, kind of with the Falcons. There was a tendency to let things go wrong and not be able to get things corrected. And that has not been the case with Arthur Smith. You look at that Miami game, they lost the lead, a game that they pretty much had been in control of for much of the afternoon. They saw that lead slip away in the fourth quarter. What do? They come right back. Matt Ryan marches them down the field. Very first play, boom, shots Kyle Pitts. Now we're moving, and they took a knee. I mean, they took a knee to just let Younghoe Koo come in and clinch that baby. He's perfect so far this year. It should tell you the state of the franchise right now that Younghoe Koo is probably a top 4 popular Falcon in this city. I mean, everybody loves Younghoe Koo, and why wouldn't you? But
he's pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie.
He's really good. But there's a trust, I think, just developing with this team that, hey, even though our back is against the wall, like we're not out of it. Like we just go make the next play. And that, more than anything, I think has inspired a little optimism that maybe things will be different under this regime, because every single time last year, it seemed like the Falcons just found a way to lose a game late in the game. This year, they're finding ways to win. And that's kind of all you can ask for right now, because everybody understands that they're in a rebuild. But Arthur Smith has come in and said, each day, getting better. We're going to hold people accountable. He's been doing some really creative things offensively. Like I said, he's not afraid. I've been watching games, and you'll see them go into 13 personnel. So, you know, running back, 3 tight ends out there. They'll have Kyle Pitts, Hayden Hurst, Lee Smith, and, you know, 1 wide receiver, usually Calvin Ridley. And one play, they'll line up with all 3 tight ends next to Jake Matthews on the left side and the running back in the backfield. And you just know a power run is coming, or an outside zone, and they've got numbers. And then the very next play, they'll go 5 wide, have the exact same personnel in there: Lee Smith, Hayden Hurst, Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Cordell Patterson, and Mike Davis. And now they're 5 wide, Matt's Ryan in the shotgun, and they've gone hurry up, and they have a defense that is not ready necessarily to defend 5 wide. So I think Arthur Smith has been extremely creative. Because of injuries, we're just now, I think, starting to see, with Russell Gage back and Calvin Ridley returning from his absence, like we're finally, I think, going to start to see what it's all supposed to look like. But now is the perfect time for that to happen. And I think that they will have a better understanding of the playbook. And I'm really excited to see just how the offense under Arthur Smith develops, probably more than anything else, because that's what will determine the ceiling of this organization. But so far as a head coach, everything seems to be running pretty smoothly.
Nice. Greg, batter up.
All right, well, you know, talking about offense developing, I wanted to talk about one particular player, Cordell Patterson. Typically, I've remembered him as a wide receiver as long as I can remember, and apparently he's been a running back for at least 2 years now. With Chicago, he was as well. He seems to be a pretty good solution right now for running back, almost like a CMC light. You know, I wouldn't say nearly on that level, but he's getting the job done, running the ball. He's doing a pretty good job receiving. I think 6 total touchdowns this year. Not bad.
Kind of like a Taysom Hill almost, huh?
Yeah. So what do you think about him at 30 years old? Is he somebody you can rely on at that position in the future? Or do y'all need to start to work on, as having a more setback? Is I've always known y'all with Freeman and who was the other guy you guys
Coleman.
had went to San Francisco?
Yeah, Tevin Coleman.
Coleman, yeah. To have a pretty strong backfield for the last few years. And it seems like it was kind of up in the air this year, but Cordell Patterson seems to have found a home.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has been up in the air since really the 2017 season was the last time the Falcons had kind of a reliable run game. And coincidentally, that's the last time they went to the playoffs. So in the last few years, Todd Gurley last year, but before that, it was really kind of a combination of Ito Smith, Brian Hill, Quadri Allison, just names that you probably aren't super familiar with if you're not in the NFC South. You guys are, so you probably know those names, but it was just a hodgepodge of kind of a situation. With Cordell Patterson, it was really interesting because, like I said, with Kyle Pitts, the versatility, that is what Cordell Patterson brings to the table. And there's kind of a saying with defense is like, if you don't have just studs on defense, your players, if you've got great players, you can make it simple and trust them to make plays. If you're kind of lacking talent on defense, you just kind of create chaos. You just blitz, you're trying to create big plays, turnovers, things like that, because they will just march down the field. So you're trying to force your will kind of on them. I wonder if the Falcons, understanding where they are with some of the personnel and the holes that are around this roster, if when they were looking at it, they said, what can we do offensively just to make it so hard for any defense to match up with anybody on the field? Because we know if we use them in normal ways, there may be a talent discrepancy there. And I think they didn't expect to hit a jackpot on Cordell Patterson the way they have. I mean, he's legitimately been the MVP of this team and one of the best offensive players, I think, in football since the start of the season. And nobody would have had that coming.
Yeah, he's kind of been a guy that has been an important part of all these teams that he's been on, except for the team he was drafted by, I guess. So I mean, ever since is like he's always playing a role. Let's turn our attention to Mike Davis, a former Carolina Panther, a guy that a lot of us were I won't say very impressed, but pleased with what he did last year for the Panthers, as Christian McCaffrey went down again last year, just like he is now. And we were a little bit worried that this could happen again and we would need a running back. And then Mike Davis goes and signs you guys didn't pay him very much at all.
Yeah.
So I hope you're not overly disappointed. But what's going on? Because and when it comes to fantasy, you thought, man, this guy's going to be getting all the carries, this and that. Haven't heard anything about him. And like Greg's he's asking about Cordell Patterson. I was like, damn, that's who we're asking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Mike Davis, I don't think that even disappointment, I'm not disappointed in Mike Davis. I'll say that. I know some people are, because all the talk was him coming in and being the number one guy and being the starter. And, what they have Cordell Patterson in this backfield. Like, that's weird. Did they really think he can be running back? And it's like, turns out, yeah, he can. But I do think that Arthur Smith still views Mike Davis as kind of his true running back of this group. I think that when you watch Cordell run the ball, he runs it like he's returning a kick. And that makes perfect sense. But he's got a great one cut. He's got a great kind of vision to see where everybody is. And he runs the ball incredibly hard. He runs like he is shot out of a cannon. But I don't know necessarily if he's always running kind of the track correctly. He has a tendency to really kind of freelance a little bit, make a bounce, and that's really worked out for him so far. But I think Mike Davis is more of the professional running back. He knows where the ball is supposed to go. He knows when he's supposed to cut it back. He knows when he's supposed to bounce it. And very rarely does he have, a huge negative play. In the Miami game, there was a big moment on the first drive where the Falcons came away with field goal. There's a 3rd and 3. Mike Davis is hit 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. As soon as he gets the ball from Matt Ryan, He spins out of the tackle, I think breaks like one more tackle and picks up 3.5 yards, and the Falcons keep the drive going. It's little things like that Mike Davis does on a play-by-play basis. He just doesn't have any of the big flashy plays that Cordell Patterson has had so far. And frankly, not any of the big gains that Cordell Patterson has had as well. But he's doing just the little things. And that's why I think the Falcons will always have a role for him in this offense. He's also not been used as a receiver as much, which obviously you kind of understand why, because you have a former receiver in the backfield as well. So I do expect for Mike Davis to pick things up. Honestly, best case scenario, if the Falcons do kind of turn into a little bit of a Cinderella and make things noisy in the second half of the season, it'll be good to have the guy you thought was going to be your starting running back coming in the season pretty well rested. I mean, that's not the worst place to be, is come late November. If you do need to win a game to stay in the playoff hunt, could you turn to him and give him the ball 25 times because he's had a lighter workload than you thought maybe he would otherwise. So I don't know. It has been disappointing from probably where the expectations were, but I still think that the Falcons view Mike Davis as an important part of their team.
Do you think that, all right, so last year, the Falcons defense has been a mess for years, for a couple of years. Do you get upset to see that Dan Quinn has so much success in Dallas as a coordinator and couldn't get it done in Atlanta? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about the state of the Falcons defense at this point?
Yeah. No, I love that for Dan Quinn. Again, just having covered
like
him
the
for 4
nicest
years,
dude ever. You don't even
Dan
hold
Quinn
a
is the nicest dude ever. Dan Quinn is the nicest guy in the world. So just happy for him. But yeah, the defense, clearly, like, he's not the problem. I do think there's some coordinators are better coordinators. Some can be head coaches. I think there's just a very small number of people who can be head coaches in the NFL. It's a very hard job. But in terms of the defense this year, I think that this was the side of the ball that was always going to have the longest rebuild, because a lot of the key losses over free agency, the guys that they had to, their entire safety group was decimated financially for financial reasons, but they lost Keanu Neal, Ricardo Allen, and DeMonte Casey. I mean, those were their top three safeties. They lost them all in one offseason. And so you have to bring in veterans like Deron Harmon and Eric Harris. Jalen Hawkins has really stepped up so far in his second year. And then Richie Grant, their draft pick, hasn't really made the impact I think people thought that he would. But that's an example of just the turnover that the defense really went through. And they kind of had to bring in some veteran minimum dudes to plug these holes. Early on, Dean Pease said he was going to blitz from everywhere, right? That was kind of the line coming about the Falcons defense was everybody better be ready because we're blitzing from all over the place. So far, they really haven't. So maybe that was a smokescreen or not. But like I said, he came out, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and said that of all the defenses that he has coached, and he's coached 19, 20 years in this league as a defensive coordinator, that he felt that this unit actually was kind of not as far along in the implementing of his defensive scheme by the start of the season as pretty much any of the other defenses, which on the one hand could be telling, but he said it had more to do with the fact that Dan Quinn's scheme is truly just a real cover 3, cover 1 principles, and that they didn't veer from that a lot. And so the fundamental knowledge that these players had of other schemes and the way that you work things in and maybe bluff with one scheme and show this and then do this or whatever, like that was just lacking maybe compared to some other players around the league who have been experienced or exposed to more of a variety defensively. Now I think they are planning to ramp things back up, and I think we're seeing them do that, especially with their linebackers, Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun, who are, outside of Grady Jarrett and AJ Terrell, their two best players on this defense. Deion Jones looked like a missile in that last game. He made multiple plays in the backfield, got the only sack for the Falcons, and Foye Oluokun stepped right in front of a Tua pass right after a big interception that Matt Ryan threw that really gave the Falcons back possession, stopped the bleeding there. So those guys are making plays. Grady Jarrett is still Grady Jarrett. And AJ Terrell looks awesome. I think the matchup between he and DJ Moore is going to be the matchup of this game on Sunday, maybe outside of if Brian Burns lines up over Jake Matthews. That would be another great one. But yeah, AJ Terrell looks sharp. The defense still just hasn't put it all together, but they are, I think, getting better as well.
Man, AJ Terrell, yeah, I've heard you say that name a few times now. By the way, I'm a Clemson fan, so I know AJ Terrell very well. Has he shown the kind of progress that you're wanting? You sound very high on him. Do you see him as a true number one shutdown corner? And have you been impressed with him thus far?
Yes. Yes, to all questions. I mean, I think last year as a rookie, what was really interesting is that everybody knew that he had to come in and kind of be the guy from the jump. They didn't have a number one corner, Isaiah Oliver, who they had drafted in the second round, hadn't panned out. He really found a home in the slot before suffering a pretty bad knee injury earlier this year. So they had to rely on AJ Terrell from the get-go as a rookie to cover every other team's best receiver. As a rookie, he's shadowing Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Michael Thomas, everybody that the other team could kind of throw at him. He was just forced to take. I mean, Justin Jefferson, that game was just an incredible battle. And what we saw as a rookie was that he was in position to make the play a lot when the ball was right there, but he didn't. The receiver usually made like an incredible catch, which is, understandable given how good the receivers he was going against were, but it was a little bit deflating. But still, as a rookie, just to be in the right spot at the right time, you kind of take that as a rookie. Year two was going to be when we all figured out, okay, is this real? Or was that maybe just a really good year, but his floor or his ceiling is a little bit lower? No, he's stepped right into his second year, into a new scheme. I mentioned how the coordinator didn't feel like everybody had a full grasp of what they were trying to do. AJ Terrell has not looked lost once. He's not been out of position. Frankly, quarterbacks aren't even really throwing the ball his way, because when they do, he's making those plays on the ball. He had an absolutely beautiful pass breakup on a slant against, I think, Jalen Waddle. No, it's Devontae Parker against Miami. Devontae Parker's big physical receiver. This is a slant. He had inside positioning. AJ Terrell got in, got his hand in there and knocked the ball out and prevented a 3rd and 3 from being completed. So he's making all the plays. I think PFF had a stat that he is the only player in the NFL to not allow a reception in man coverage this season among players with at least 50 snaps in man coverage.
Jeez,
so he's been locked down
stat
for them so far. I mean, he's been everything that the Falcons could have wanted.
What do the Panthers attack? What, we need to get back on track, man.
Yeah.
And sadly, it has less to do with you guys than it does with us. But if it did have to do with the Atlanta Falcons, what would the Panthers need to attack this week? Would it be our defense taking advantage of something, or would it be our offense? How would you attack your own team?
That's a good question. I would honestly, the Falcons so far have liked to do some deeper developing routes with only 2 receivers kind of in the route pattern. They have tended to keep their tight ends close to the line, keep their backs in, and give Matt Ryan a big pocket. I think the strength for this Panthers team, at least on paper, I know Hassan Reddick has kind of gone crazy for you guys and has 8 sacks. Brian Burns, 4 sacks so far. I mean, Burns was one of my favorite players coming out of that draft class. I was incredibly jealous that he went to Carolina. Same with Jeremy Chin. I think both of those guys have been making some good plays for them so far this year. Jeremy Chin, I think, had a pretty good game last week. For you all, I know he's been a little bit slow to start the year, but to me, the best chance for Carolina to win is really just dominate defensively in the trenches. Atlanta's offensive line, which has been a struggle over the past few years, is actually playing really well. But I don't know how much of that is on the offensive line themselves, or like I said, Arthur Smith has done a good job of giving them help. He had a play. They had a new right tackle in that Miami game, and it was Russell Gage caught a 55-yard touchdown in that game. On that play, they had a tight end outside of their right tackle, who was getting kind of demolished early in the game. They were just taking advantage of him. They have a tight end outside. Hayden Hurst was on the opposite side, but when the ball was snapped, he switched sides and went outside of the other tight end. So all of a sudden, that right tackle, who was a liability, is your third man on the inside. And everybody picked up their blocks. It was a solid wall. It allowed Matt Ryan to have the space to hit the deep shot, and that's a touchdown. He's done a really good job with that, but I still think that there are enough opportunities where he won't give the offensive line the protection that they need. And that is when I think Carolina really could get in Matt Ryan's face, force a couple of turnovers. He had a fumble last week while trying to run with the ball, and just create those extra possessions. Because I look at the other side of the ball. To me, DJ Moore is the best weapon that you guys have right now. And I'm really curious. That's why I think that
is he better than Calvin Ridley in your mind?
Well, that's going to be right this season. Yes,
right, man. It's just because they both came out the same year. Yeah. We picked
back-to-back picks, right? Weren't they 23
No, I think they were. I think DJ was the first wide receiver that went. I think he was at like 16 or something, and then 23 for the Falcons. Either way, 1 and 2 wide receivers off the board. We had our option to go with Calvin Ridley, and we went with DJ Moore. Did we make the right choice?
Well, I know that when the Falcons saw that Calvin Ridley was still on the board, they made a move, I believe, to trade up and get him. I think they made a small jump there because they were that excited, and wide receiver was not a need for them. They were in the market, I think, for a pass rusher, and I just know Thomas thought so highly of Calvin. And I mean, picking an Alabama receiver had worked once for him, right? So why not do it again? I think that we've seen. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, was that the same draft with Tack McKinley?
No, Tack was the year before. Tack was 2017. Gotcha. This was 2018. But I think that we've seen Calvin has maybe a higher ceiling so far to the start of his career. But the big asterisk to that is he has been the number 2. He's had better quarterback play, more consistent quarterback play, and an offensive coordinator who really liked explosive plays through the air. So all of those things culminated into him having a truly elite season as wide receiver. And I think there's almost 2 tiers of elites when we talk about receiver, because I think anybody who can consistently have 1,100, 1,200 yards and 5 to 8 touchdowns is an elite receiver. And I think DJ Moore is an elite receiver. Like he's been that receiver from the jump. Then there's kind of that first tier, and those are the guys that really can touch 1,600, 1,700 yards. And, touchdowns can be a bit erratic, but in a season can have 10 to 13 touchdowns. And that's where we saw Calvin get last year. Now was that a flash? And he's really kind of more in that DJ Moore range, 1,100, 1,200 yards. But the big edge that DJ Moore has in this, and this may end up giving him the overall edge in terms of career, is he had to be kind of the number 1 receiver earlier on in his career. And so any lumps that he had to take, he's well past them. I mean, I think that now he's learning how to be the player when the team around him is bad. How does he pick up his play to the level that he can still give his team a chance? And I think he's played really well so far this season. And I think he's always played really well. But Calvin now having to be the guy and do the dirty work sometimes, which I think DJ Moore is very good at doing, it's going to take Calvin a little bit of time. He hasn't figured it out just yet. Now, some of that could be luck. I mean, it all could just be crazy circumstance. And he could go on an absolute tear over the next 4 games. We're all sitting here kind of like, that was weird, slow start, whatever. But it hasn't looked right so far. And until he figures that out and can get back to averaging close to 100 yards a game and 2 touchdowns every 3 games, then people are going to be asking that question. I think DJ Moore is on pace, certainly so far, to have a better season. And I think that's well earned. I don't think that's fluky at all.
All right, man. Will McFadden, Bleav in Falcons podcast. Good stuff tonight. A lot of insight. I would say I don't like the Falcons, and I really don't like anybody who usually cheers for them, but it's hard to dislike you. So you're very nice and cordial.
I'll try harder. be mean next time. How about that?
Oh, I hate the Falcons. I hate y'all, but it's personal. It's personal. But Will, you've been great. Tell them how they can follow your work.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Will McFadden. Like you guys mentioned, Bleav Podcast Network, Bleav in Falcons. That's BLEAV. My co-host is former Falcons fullback Ovi Mahaley, who is a former All-Pro and also is very big now kind of in the medical field. So he brings a lot of interesting information, both from a football perspective and anytime there's any medical things that, like we talked about Calvin Ridley being excused for mental health reasons, things like that. So we delve into the on-field stuff, a little bit of the off-field stuff. And then I write for the Falcoholic. So you can find anything that I write over there, but that's it.
Man, thank you so much for the insight. We hope to have you back on the show, man, and best of luck, but not for your football team this weekend or ever.
Yeah, how about you guys can root for the Braves? How about that? We'll take that luck.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Because we don't root for cheaters like the Astros. That's right. We will root for the Braves in
there you go.
The World Series. Thank you very much, Will. That's Will McFadden from Bleav, BLEAV, in Falcons podcast. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
let's keep rocking and rolling through the show. I guess the news that we have to continue to talk about, other than how mean our chat is so mean right now. Right. I really think they are. I think they're taking out aggression. I think they're taking out their energy. First of all, Off Grid just booed him the whole time.
Off Grid's been booing him the whole time.
I know, because
I'm over here.
He stayed on message. I love it. He stayed on message, and you know what? I would do the same thing, not because of Will, but because of the Falcons part. But in the meantime, I guess the biggest news surrounding the Carolina Panthers has been about Sam Darnold's shitty performance. Shitty, man. And the Panthers shitty performance. And this guy who likes to rub his dick on people's faces named Deshaun Watson. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, what's the news? The news actually has surfaced this is they asked Matt Rhule several times about this throughout the week. Are you guys interested in Deshaun Watson? Now, Cody in the post game right after the tragic loss, or the embarrassing loss would be more the case. All of a sudden, the Panthers are in the running, and now a story from CBS Sports. I saw this, and this goes to let me see if I can share it. Is that we were linked to Deshaun Watson. Did you guys think it was going to happen? I guess would be the question I have as I put this up. And right now, the title of this is Deshaun Watson trade rumors. Texans, Dolphins agree on compensation. Miami wants legal issues resolved first. Well, duh, dickheads. That's what we all.
And they're never going to trade him.
Yeah,
they won't trade him before the deadline.
Yeah, like
Well, apparently, what is and that one thing you shared, Tony. They're like apparently the owner is going to be reaching out for clarification on if things do go sour, what is the length of a suspension that they would be looking at? Because if it's a 1-year suspension that he was going to have for this, then because none of these are criminal charges, these are civil, so there is no criminal aspect to it. So there is going to be an aspect of it to where they're hoping that even if it is a 1-year suspension that starts next year, well, then it's not complete loss, right? But if it's something that's going to be like a multi-year suspension, like 2 or 3 years, which I don't even know if that's ever been a thing, then at that point in time, then why trade anything when you could possibly get him when he decides to just once the Houston Texans don't sign him. You know what I mean?
I mean, it just seems to me like nothing is
Isn't
to
that
be
what we all
believed, man.
wanted?
Nothing is
Isn't
to
that
be
what we
believed.
all
You hear
wanted?
1 minute that there's going to be a trade, and everybody's certain that there's going to be one, and then now you're hearing this, dude. If they're waiting for legal issues to be resolved, I was hearing some stuff saying that he wasn't even, or that they might not be done with this until like even before the start of next football season. So if you're waiting for legal clarification, then we're talking about a whole bunch of fucking nothing here. Deshaun Watson's going to be a
That's
Texan.
what it sure feels like.
And you know what? And then this is the last point, and then I'll pass the mic. They're jerking our chain here, dude. Like the fact that we continue to do this. Oh, will they, won't they thing with the Panthers and Deshaun Watson is like as soon as we move on and feel like, all right, well, Deshaun is a no-go here for Carolina, we all feel like we don't have the compensation to go get him. And with all of the accusations being levied against them, like, why would we be in the Deshaun Watson discussion? And then here we are every other day. They keep on associating our name with this bullshit. So it's just tiresome, man. It really is. And look, I mean, it's a brand new day. And this is not the same Deshaun Watson that, we all thought was, Mr. Nice Guy a few years ago. I mean, I'm not saying I know what happened, but what I'm saying is
he should have let that Khalifa girl dunk it instead of blocking it. He's not Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah. Look, there's two things about this article that, just past the headline you got to read. And, one line is the compensation and potential trade for Watson and the Dolphins has been agreed to. All they're waiting for is legal issues to be resolved before it's executed. Then in the next paragraph, it says, Goodell in the league does not have access to the same information to Houston police and does not want to interfere with the investigation. It says Goodell noted the league does not feel it has the necessary information to place Watson on the commissioner's exempt list.
Which, by the way, the story started to come out around 8 o'clock that they agreed on terms. Now, I think that we've got to keep in mind that this doesn't, like, the timing of all of this is right when they were having the league meetings with Roger Goodell in New York. And they literally have Roger Goodell actually talking about this, right? So which leads me to believe that this isn't just a smokescreen, that this is real news, that there is a very legit chance that this is going to happen, and that the Dolphins owner has definitely had a conversation with Roger Goodell to be able to say, hey, listen, or at least have some confidence that they're going to be able to trade for him. Like these rumors, they're all kind of coming around the exact same time, which again kind of leads to the legitimacy of it. I'm okay with this.
Which means the Panthers are going to do it, right?
No, the Dolphins are.
Why not? Like, why can't we
Dolphins
sweep in
got
there
him, man.
and actually,
Exactly.
dude, why? Like,
you don't even want Deshaun.
I know.
No, I don't want Deshaun, but
I don't. I think it actually would be the worst.
No, I meant Tony. Tony's been
if,
shitting on this Deshaun thing.
Cody, you want to know?
Look, I take a lot of player sides through a lot of these things, and what I mean by kind of I don't want to reach judgments, and actually I have no judgment about him at this point. Other than that, like, I don't think you should go and actively pursue people who are involved in stuff like this.
Right.
That's my thing, is that I hope that it comes out. I hope it comes to light for him, just as an individual, that this shit isn't as bad as he says it is, or that it's been made to be. I do caution too quick to judgment in life. Right. So, I mean, I do caution that type of attitude. Like, I don't want to reach a judgment about Deshaun Watson with limited information. But the thing that is tough for me to think about, like, is that one, because it's related to sexual harassment / whatever, more than that. It's actually sounds more than that. Our team has a history, which is kind of the old man history of it. But they, like, I mean, like, I just think this is that I think it's just bullshit when people say that they're all principled, and then at any moment that it's advantageous for them to throw their principles to the side, that they do it.
Right.
And I know that the NFL has a history of being money making, and that doesn't even surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that the NFL has made these types of wherever it's CTE and stuff like this. I just hate the idea that it's so blatant that you're like, oh, well, we love veterans. We have Veterans Day or whatever at the stadium, and then like they won't let some veteran take a knee or some whatever it is. And that what my point just being is that like don't act all high and mighty on me, and then when we have one loss, one fucking incredibly bad loss, and then you're like, you know what, bring this guy in and bring some masseuses while you're at it.
So here's my thought, and Tony, I'm gonna kind of recap again what I said on after Cody had gotten off on Sunday about the way that I feel about this quarterback carousel that we've been on. And I think Bat Daddy, I don't know if you got to listen to the last part of the show, but you probably can respond to this and understand what I'm talking about on this as well. What we've been doing as an organization reminds me too much and too often of trading crypto. And it's not the trading crypto where you might buy low and then like get a good nice little profit and then sell. And then what happens? This is where we go wrong, right? We had Cam Newton, we let him go for nothing, right? So we sold him for nothing, and then we brought Teddy Bridgewater in, which is buying him high, and then we sold him for draft picks, and we still have to eat part of his contract, right? And so we're losing more because of that. And then we trade another draft pick to get Sam Darnold, and then we get Sam Darnold and we pick up his 5th-year option without seeing him even play a snap for this team. So now we've got that on our books for next year. And now we're talking about trading for a quarterback for the possibility of 3 first-rounders, maybe getting rid of young talent who has got even a much riskier a downside than he does upside for the moment being, at least. Like being able to, it's basically like what happened to a lot of people. They bought Doge when it was low. They actually got money. They won some money, and then what happened is they sold when it got to it went to the top, and then it went back down, and people panic sold because they're like, oh, I'm still making a profit. I'm going to sell right here, and then it went right back up, and they bought because they're like, oh, it's going to continue to go up. Well, now it just went right back down, and they lost money. And that's going to continue to happen. They just continue to buy high and sell low, and they're losing money and losing money and losing money. That's what we're doing as an organization with quarterbacks. And if we decide to bring Deshaun Watson in, which again, I don't think that as a fan, I don't think we should do it. It is too expensive. It is too risky. And there is no guarantees with that guy. Right.
Well, what about the soul part? It's like, this is like, what if for me, it's this is, and I don't know if he's guilty or innocent or this or that, but if there are real questions at this point, and if they're not real, then why is I don't know. Why though do you want to win that bad in the short term to where you will straight sell out whatever, and I don't want to be like that. I want to win, and I don't think that, and I don't have this weird sense or idealism that everybody's perfect in this or that. I just don't think I would prefer for him to have his shit resolved and to be a reformed man and then go get him. I Bleav, I liked how Mike Vick came back to the league. And I like how they he resurrected his career with the Eagles. But I don't think you should be trading for him as he's going to jail. And that is the thing is at this moment, we don't know. And let's not act like anybody knows. Just like the NFL said, they don't have access to what's going on with the Houston Police Department, number one. And number two, just think about this. What if it wasn't a criminal thing? What if it was just when you trade for players, they don't even tell you if they're injured or not. You know what I'm saying? You trade for a guy and then all of a sudden now they got to pass the thing. They're like, oh, yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. And then all of a sudden he comes up and he's got one leg.
Didn't we have a cornerback that we traded for, and then he came to us and he failed his physical with his foot and he couldn't play?
That was in free agency. That was Brashard Breeland, I think.
Okay.
But still, like one of the things is that you don't know the depths of the injuries when it comes to teams like players you're trading for. You really don't know what their status is. So, like, I mean, think about it. Did we really truly get to sit down and talk to Stephon Gilmore about how what his groin was like before we traded? No, we don't.
No, you hear what the team says about him and what the training staff, what the coaching staff says. But listen, okay, so then we're all out on Deshaun. Cool, just like we were before. My question is this:
do you think we should do? Actually, are you out? Are you out on him, or do you think it's actually something that we should consider? Given, and for me, it's just a moral, ethical point right now. And I'm not even trying to say he's a bad dude. Like, actually, you know what? I don't even give a fuck.
Yeah, everyone is trying to say
dude,
he's a
like,
bad dude.
No, nobody's saying he's a bad dude. Is we don't know. How about this? We don't know if he's a good dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all those questions are legitimate, but regardless of what you think about it, all these accusations for most people, I feel like many people in the chat, many people here, just make it a no-go. You know, it's like they don't even, forget about the due process.
Well, it's a no-go now.
The due process is over.
But you got to look at it from.
Hold on, but my thing is this though, is that if we're not going to trade for Deshaun, right? It's going to be the Dolphins and the Texans. Panthers aren't in this. So what the fuck do we do now? Does anyone expect Sam Darnold to get better and fix this over this coming season? Because let me tell you,
do you think Deshaun Watson would change this season?
Press conference, Tony, I don't want to do this conversation every time. We would be a better team with Deshaun. And I don't care what anyone says.
No. That's not the same question. That's not the same question. Do you think he would truly change the trajectory of the season? That's a different question.
Yes.
And don't be all negative Nelly, Mr.
Yes, fine. Yes.
So you really think all of a sudden that after, to the point that Joe Brady is about to get fired, Matt Rhule looks like a beaten puppy.
He wouldn't be getting fired if you had Deshaun Watson. And that's what's being lost on everyone is, if you want to say that, he's a pervert and he does all
systematically be bad, dude.
That's fine. But no one can take away that Deshaun Watson is one of the very best players in the NFL.
No one's saying that. No one is.
You're not even letting me finish my point. Deshaun Watson has been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL behind a terrible offensive line. If you don't think that Deshaun Watson would come in here and make things infinitely better than they are right now,
what is infinitely better? How about that? You
just
tell me what infinitely better is.
Point being, we have
just tell me
here.
what infinitely better is. I mean, realistically, it is week 7, right? It's week 8, homie. We are in week 8. Tell me what the season ends like.
We're damn sure not going to be the same. We're not going to be the same.
I asked. Look at Mr. Defensive.
My only question about Deshaun Watson.
I don't start talking before everyone starts interrupting and saying, but you're saying this. No, what I'm saying is Deshaun's not going to come here. So we're really arguing over nothing anyway. But you are short selling, and you absolutely are. You're short selling what kind of a talent Deshaun Watson is and what he would do for this football team. Because to act like there's no difference between what him and Sam Darnold would do for this football team, dude, that's
no one said that.
No,
is anybody in that, like, it's like a misrepresentation and you're skewing it. And again, I feel like I'm talking with my wife.
I'm not your wife. I'm not skewing anything, man.
You are skewing it. I asked you this. I did not ask if we would be better. Would we be truly a different team at the end of the season?
What does that mean?
And that means this is that it is week 8 now. You're bringing in a quarterback that has to learn, that you have to learn the system, develop chemistry, hasn't played and whatever. That's for, so now he's going to just step in and all of a sudden be Aaron Rodgers. All right. Okay. And then if that's the case, we have 10 games that are really tough on the schedule. Like, where do you see the season ending? No one said in this. I mean, it would be lunacy to say that we would not be better with Deshaun Watson as a quarterback than Sam Darnold. Nobody is saying that. is ultimately would the 2021 season end tremendously different. And if you tell me that we get 3 more wins or 2, no.
How about
unless
this?
we're in the playoffs and making a deep run, then it doesn't matter. Because
Tell me if this
you
answers
could
your
probably
question.
you could get Aaron Rodgers after this season. You could,
Older.
if next season is if you get Deshaun Watson or the gains this season or beyond, and if you tell me this season and you just say because we beat the New York Giants, then that's some bullshit.
No, well, we didn't beat the New York Giants. We lost to the New York Giants. But what I'm saying is we would have a chance to be a playoff football team, is that our defense wouldn't have to be fighting to make up for the atrocities that the offense have been committing and not putting up any points. So I think that we would make a playoff point, a legitimate playoff push.
Next week we make
playoffs. Why do you think we make a legitimate playoff push? The offensive, seriously, we're gonna get a wild card? Is that what you're saying?
If that's the case, then you are putting the entire blame of everything that's wrong with Carolina on Sam Darnold.
No, I'm not.
If you think that putting Deshaun Watson in this Sunday would make us a playoff team, then that means that everything wrong with Carolina has got to be Sam Darnold, because
no, it's not everything, but
he's got to run the same plays. I mean, come on, the receivers are going to drop the same balls. Sam's missed some, but Deshaun misses some too. I agree with Tony. We'll be a better team, but at the end of it, we're going to be a team that wins 7 games, picks 13th, and now we have no draft picks for the next 3 years to get him.
I mean, listen, I don't have a crystal ball into the future. What I'm doing, what I will say, because this is a fun look. Our defense is better than what the Houston Texans defense was last year. We have more weapons on the Carolina Panthers than what the Houston Texans did last year. And our offensive line is probably about comparable. And Deshaun Watson threw for almost 5,000 yards behind that offensive line. And we would have Christian McCaffrey coming back at some point. And Deshaun Watson is a mobile threat that can run down the football field. And we're going to have guys like Stephon Gilmore playing. J.C. Horn might be able to come back. Yeah, dude, listen, Sam Darnold, his drop, and shout out to Panther Pickle in the chat, Kenneth. He sent me a link today about the offense and how things just kind of haven't been gelling. But Sam Darnold's drop is quicker than how fast the play develops. So Sam Darnold is ready to throw the football, and the receivers, they're not even looking for the football yet. So Sam has to sit there, hold on, wait for the plays to develop, and then the pocket is breaking down around him. Sam Darnold has a ton of deficiencies to his football game that Deshaun Watson simply does not. The Panthers would, and listen, I don't know that there would be a playoff team, but we would be in a much better scenario with Deshaun Watson than Sam Darnold.
Do you think it would be this year? It's a win now move. I think it would be, if anything, is that acquiring Watson would be advantageous. And look, I'm gonna call out Jeff for all y'all look Cody and his little sycophants in the chat room all the time. His little
they recognize logic.
No, Mister. We interrupt you. You interrupt just as much. Sycophants. They're sycophants. And the question ultimately is this: is that winning? This is why I've been saying this about CMC. Is that at the end of the day, we might win 1 or 2 more games with CMC in the past. Like if we had him, we might be the Eagles. We might be the Giants. But does that really fucking matter? No, it doesn't. Because the team still sucks at the core. At its soul.
What does that mean?
What we have seen in the last 3 games, what we have seen since the Dallas game is that these aren't issues that are just cosmetic. These are systemic, deep issues to the fact that now we're questioning the true character of even the direction of the team when it comes to Matt Rhule, when it comes to Joe Brady and this or that. So yes, you bring in Deshaun Watson. Sure, it's a little help. It's a lot of help. And you know what? Maybe those dividends play 2 years down the next year or the year after. But don't act to me like all of a sudden it's like no. I mean, this season we're on a slope that is sliding so fast that Deshaun Watson might be able to dig his heels in and help us slow that descent. But we ain't climbing and overcoming the mountain this year, bro.
Exactly.
Not with your boy Brady Christensen looking like this. And you know what? I don't even care. I hope he does great. I hope he becomes something. But it doesn't matter. The guys beside him are bums. Matt Paradis isn't going to be better. Right? I mean, it's just that simple. It's not, unless you truly think, and is that all of a sudden our defense, because you get Deshaun, and then our offense becomes less than limp dick, more than limp dick. And then all of a sudden, Stephon Gilmore makes our defense, all of a sudden, we're going to be the most elite defense. Maybe.
Tony,
maybe.
No, when your offense is putting points on the board, it lets your defense play aggressive. Sure. And so, the Panthers have a very aggressive defense. And it would complement everything that we're doing. The defense wouldn't look so terrible, especially at the end of the football game when they're dead tired because the offense didn't put up any fucking points in the third quarter. Yeah, Deshaun Watson helps that out tremendously. But again, dude, we might as well be talking about who's taller, the fucking Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. We're not getting Deshaun, man. It's not going to happen.
Why do you say that?
I think it's definitely still possible. Don't get me wrong, because we do have a owner that is very aggressive and has clearly made it clear that he's not. I mean, you got to keep in mind how many different quarterbacks he's had as the owner of this team in just the short time that he's owned it. That's already a problem in and of itself. But anyway, I think that it's important that we talk about the logic behind it all as well, because you guys got to keep in mind, we've had some people talk about it. His cap hit next year is $42 million, right? That's a massive amount. Let's talk about the people that are free agents right now. We have Stephon Gilmore, Matt Paradis, Justin Burris, Hassan Reddick, Dante Jackson, Daquan Jones, Royce Freeman, Ian Thomas, Jermaine Carter, all of these people, right? All of these people, bye. Like, there is no way we re-sign them. Like, we take that $40 million draft hit, they're gone. And let's go ahead and talk about Matt Paradis has been bad. Who the fuck are we going to get to replace him? Because we ain't going to get anybody in the draft. If we trade away our first round draft pick and we don't have a second or a third, right? We're not getting anybody to replace Matt Paradis. We're not going to be able to sign anybody that's of a higher quality than Matt Paradis. So we're then now going to go to Sam Tecklenburg to be able to cover our center position. So he might help us this year. And who knows? We might even get to the playoffs this year, right? If he comes in. But guess what happens next year? We are a much worse team than we are this year, regardless. Like, even with him at the helm, like you can put him at the helm all you want, but if we can't keep people around him, like, that are going to be able to if we can't keep this defense rolling at the height that it is, if we can't do the things that we need to do to keep this team together, then I mean, we're going to be completely lost in the water. We're not going to be a better team next year.
TK, I don't want any of these bums around us next year. Not a single one of these bums, bro. I'm telling you this, and this is why I'm like agreeing with Cody on, is that, like, if you bring me Watson, then let's talk next year is actually what I'm interested. But after that Giants game, and I've been going through the record books, homie. There's only one maybe game, and it was in the 2010 season where we were that bad ever. Like, I mean, straight up, our offense put up 100. Look up it's like less than 150 yards or something, or less than 170 yards of offense. Even in our worst defeats, we have not been that bad. And then on top of that, you add a hobbled ass Giants team that didn't have nobody, that then was back. Like, at least in the past, when we got our ass whipped, it was a team that went on to be 11-5 or something. And I'm telling you, I feel like that loss against the Giants, it's not even just losing. It's about how bad we looked at every single level. Every single level. And I think now we have to really start asking, is Matt Rhule, maybe not Matt Rhule. Well, yeah. Like, I don't think anybody is above criticism at this point. And right now, Joe Brady, they're talking about, I mean, they're asking him in the press conferences if they're going to take away the play calling, dude.
Well, yeah, but can I add on to what CK just said? Because that was brilliant, CK. You just laid out a very clear picture of the scenario that the Panthers are in. Because look, okay, let's take Deshaun Watson out of this equation for a minute. Okay, let's say the season's over and we're another dumpster fire, top 10 pick football team, right? Okay, and then that means Sam isn't the guy. Okay, so then what do you do from that point in time? Are you going to draft a quarterback? Because I'm here to tell you, this year's quarterbacks, they're not the crop that came out last year. Okay, but then hold on. People will say, well, hey, Aaron Rodgers is out there. Russell Wilson is out there. Okay, but then everything that was true for Deshaun Watson is also going to be true for Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. You're going to be trading first-round picks and players to go get a quarterback. And hold on.
No, I think they're free agents.
They're not. I looked it up today. Aaron Rodgers is not a free agent, and neither is Russell Wilson. So next year, you would have to trade for both of them. And that is why I'm so pissed off at David Tepper for fucking this thing up. Because now we're in a position where, since we failed to rebuild the football team the proper way the first time and doing these half-ass rebuilds every single year, now we're moving into a scenario where if we're going to upgrade our quarterback position, we're going to have to move heaven and earth to do so, or we're going to have to hope that one of these rookie quarterbacks is going to be able to come in and play well next year. By the way, have you seen how Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields look? They're going to be damn good football players, I promise you that. But right now, they're sitting behind piss-poor football teams, and they're getting their ass whooped up and down the field. So should the Panthers expect that next year if we draft a quarterback? Dude, David Tepper and Matt Rhule have already fucked up this quarterback situation terribly. And who knows if we're going to be able to find a way out that doesn't, prove to be a detriment to this football team. Said my piece.
I do want to point out one thing. I know that listening to the post-game show, I wasn't able to be here, but Tony, I know you were defending the defense, and I messaged y'all earlier. I was on your side with this.
I think in a loss like that, no one's defensible, but at the same time, I mean, they gave up 3 points in the first half.
I did just want to point out that Tony, you were defending the defense, and Cody, you were bashing the defense and saying how the defense was at fault because for giving these points. And then just to show you're kind of a Deshaun Watson homer, when you were talking about Deshaun Watson coming here, you were saying, well, he'll have an offense that'll be better for the defense because the defense won't have to play back to back to back because there won't be offensive 3 and outs. So you were defending the defense there with Deshaun Watson, but you were bashing it last week. So,
well, I mean, listen, I think that me and Tony both kind of flip-flopped on there. I can admit that I was hard on the defense, but Tony was very complimentary of the defense or not complimentary, but basically saying they weren't what lost us the football game. And listen, I think that there's truth to both of those statements. The defense is not the problem on our football team. And even the issues that we do have, we're going to have Shaq Thompson coming back at some point. We're going to get Stephon Gilmore up to speed. CJ Henderson will continue to get up to speed. And hopefully, J.C. Horn is going to be able to come back this season and play some football. Hopefully, if we're playing meaningful November, December football, then, that'll be an asset that's coming back to us. So, yeah, when you add that on top of, Deshaun Watson was always this player that never depended on his offensive line being fantastic for him to throw for almost 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Yeah, I think that would be a damn good football player that could take us the rest of the way. I don't know if it would be a Super Bowl team. It would look kind of like what the Kansas City Chiefs were last year.
I just feel it's too little, too late, and this or too that it's not too little, too late. That's not what I'm trying to say to you, Cody. Is not about first is the questions that were there 6 weeks ago when it comes to and the cat's there. The Panther is in the house, and it's the VR Panther. But the questions that existed 6 weeks ago are still there for Deshaun Watson. And so here's the thing is that, but the questions when it comes to this team, are new. Like, I mean, if you would have said this to me in week 2, I would have been like, fuck yeah, let's do this and go get it. But I really feel like we took a beating in a way this past week that makes it hard for me to be excited about the structure of our team. And yes, the defense didn't lose us, and it's almost not an individual game thing at this point for me. It's about now I'm starting to think about this is that I wanted to be optimistic about Matt Rhule. I wanted to give Joe Brady opportunity to grow as a coordinator. But after the last couple of weeks with Joe Brady right now, I'm starting to think he has that his inexperience is really contributing to this. Right? Is that's what I truly think is that, and I know he doesn't have a lot, like he can't control if the receivers drop the ball. I know he can't control if the offensive line is terrible. I know he can't control if Sam Darnold sucks a D, but I think this is that we tell, or at least I have said, Sam Darnold has to overcome that offensive line. Like that's just what the line is. My bad. I mean, it sucks for you, bro. But that's just what it is what it is. And right now, I don't see Joe Brady coaching this offense to get better. Despite, how do you coach that offensive line up? And I'm not saying he has to coach them to play. Like how, I don't know, man. Like right now, I don't have a good opinion about anybody in the coaching staff. The only people I think highly of are maybe Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin, and that's it. I mean, who else? Hassan Reddick. Like those are the people. These are the people I agree. And last year, I got in all the fights with the 4-man rush people about the offensive line. And I said, this line is better than we're used to seeing. It's better than we're used to seeing. And I'm not saying it's good, but they're like, oh, it's trash. It's trash. It's trash. And I was like, no, well, yeah. I mean, but they were, and then they said, oh, this is scheme. The scheme makes it look better than it is. And that's what I'm upset right now with this coaching staff is that y'all pick these players, y'all pick this shit, and you can't figure out a way to make it look at least a little bit better than that. And Sam Darnold has been stinking for 2 weeks. I ain't no defense for that. No defense. The offensive line been stinking. But at what point does the coaching staff find a way to make it not look as shitty? Like put the lipstick on that pig a little bit better.
I'm a firm believer that our offensive line didn't have to be this bad, even with the personnel that we had now. And I don't care if y'all think I'm a stubborn old ass or a broken record or whatever. If we would have played the young guys earlier, given them time to get ingratiated to the offensive line, to the playbook, let them make their rookie mistakes early in the season against the Jets and the Texans. So that way, when you're playing the Philadelphias and the Giants and the Falcons later in the season, they're better ingratiated to those positions. That's all I was saying about Brady Christensen earlier. They're like, yeah, no shit, that guy had a bunch of rookie mistakes playing on the left side when it's the first time that he ever really had an opportunity to do so. But ultimately, we agree. I'm pissed off that these coaches have taken all of our problems and done nothing to make them better. They've only compounded them. Yeah, they compounded them and they made them even worse. And it's by their own doing. And I feel like that's one of the tough things, man, is that David Tepper and Matt Rhule have made a bunch of critical errors and mistaken judgment calls.
But why?
And it's going to be a real problem for us going forward. And now I have no faith in Matt Rhule's ability to evaluate talent at the quarterback position or the offensive line position.
Why are we putting that? Like, listen, Matt Rhule is not the guy evaluating this, right? What is the point of our GM and our scouts if that's the case, right?
Matt Rhule was here for a year before Fitterer.
Right, and we can blame, Matt Rhule and Marty Herney and all those people, right? You wanted to use Marty Herney as a scapegoat last year, right, for the issues that we had, right? So this year, Scott Fitterer, we wanted to sit here and praise everything
Fitterer
he's done.
Did free agency this year. He did free agency.
He traded for Sam Darnold. He did the draft. Notice. He chose Christensen. He did these decisions. It was not
so did Rhule. And so did
he
Rhule.
pulled the trigger, but I have the feeling that David Tepper and Matt Rhule are the ones that are kicking him on the heels, telling him what to do.
How are you sitting there and defending Brady with our decision when we said that it was clearly Brady who made the decision to bring Teddy Bridgewater here because he has a history with Teddy Bridgewater? You defended Brady in that situation. How can you turn around and now say that Scott Fitterer it's all on Matt Rhule instead of having some culprit, some I guess guilt is going to have to be on Fitterer? You have the same concept. You can't sit there and say Matt Rhule is the only one to be blamed when Fitterer pulled the trigger, and then in the same breath say that Brady has nothing to do with Teddy Bridgewater being brought here last year and give him no blame whatsoever.
Well,
the only reason we're not at the point of over questioning Fitterer, not over questioning or questioning him, is because he's so new. So at the same thing is like I'm giving Matt Rhule and Joe Brady the benefit of the doubt in their first year or two, but now the decisions are starting to say, man, it's hard to give you the benefit of the doubt. So Scott Fitterer, we're giving you the benefit of the doubt. You come in on the fly quickly, and that's why I do think the personnel decisions lean more towards Rhule right at this point, because he's the one that was there and established at that point. I don't think that Tepper has anything to do with the offensive line.
Not offensive line, but what about
in those decisions? And you know what? And Fitterer went out and got F-line and Irvin
and Christian. That's the blame that I put. That's the blame that I have no problem putting squarely on the Scott Fitterer's shoulders. Right. That the first free agent signing that he made he went and got two injury-prone bums from other football teams, and then somehow decided that miraculously they would be better and less injury-prone upon playing here in Carolina. It was foolishness, and Matt Rhule even said as much as themselves that they knew they had some injury concerns, but they feel like there was a lot of unrealized potential there. And they did the same thing with Sam Darnold. There was an interview where they were talking, and I think Phil Snow, or this is how Matt Rhule tells it, Phil Snow was looking at film of Sam Darnold and said, that guy looks a lot like Matt Stafford. And they said, you know what? I think you're right. It does kind of look like Matthew Stafford. So they banked on themselves to be able to turn Sam Darnold into their very own Matthew Stafford, and it failed miserably. And now we're potentially going to be paying
it hasn't
for it
failed,
for
but
2 years.
it certainly is failing. I think the scary part for me, the number is 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the C3 Panthers podcast. Tell us where we got it right, where we got it wrong, who the blame is on, who is not on, how
I'll be right back.
desperate these times are. CK, for me, the thing that I continue to come back, and we're going to go into the cat calls right after we talk about this, is that Ron Rivera comes in 2011, gets Cam Newton, right? New coach, number 1 draft pick. Cam Newton comes out and sets it on fire for numbers wise in his first games. You got who was our offensive Chudzinski.
Yeah,
we had 2 tight end set. Shit was looking great. We didn't get the wins in that first year.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we thought, man, things are really like all of a sudden we got it could be hot next year.
Right.
Then we go in 2012 and just shit the bed in the beginning.
Yep.
And had a bad year. Ultimately had a bad year to the point though that my buddy and co-founder of this podcast, Joe Riolano, was questioning Sean McDermott, like, should we fire? Like, that was like our
Right.
defense was so bad. It didn't have the pieces. But Ron Rivera cobbled together a strong back end of the season and saved his job.
Yep.
And then 2013, we come out and go 12-4. The thing that I have the trouble with right now is I don't know if if Matt Rhule is going to be able to cobble together a back end of the season like Ron Rivera did.
Yeah, the difference here is like, Cam had some issues. Offensive line wasn't great. I mean, early on, he still had, Jordan. What's his name?
Jordan Gross.
Yeah, Jordan Gross. I don't know why I was blanking there. He still had Jordan Gross. They were able to give him a really decent offensive line in 2015. I mean, he still had some benefit, but even with a bad offensive line, the dude still found a way to not have 4 back-to-back games or 4 games in a row where you're just on a skid, right? He was always still he was never the reason that we lost all the time. Like, he might have been the reason we lost a game or two, but he always kind of turned it around. He was never consistently bad.
He was kind of the stoic, strong guy.
Yeah.
For Ron Rivera is this. He never, and I always said this, he never gave us an advantage.
Right.
Like him alone, like him, like being like having Ron Rivera gives us. Is that on my computer?
I don't hear anything.
What? I don't hear anything.
Can I give you my comparison to what I feel like this coaching staff is and this general manager has done with this team this year?
CBS. I'm getting a CBS ad because I got that stupid article up. All of a sudden, I'm listening. There's a song playing in my ear. The thing about Rivera is that he, in those seasons where he was on the hot seat, he had a back end of the seat. We played strong in November and December, and hopefully this defense is going to be there for us in November or December, because if not, if it keeps on this trajectory, there's no way I thought Matt Rhule could get fired after this. Like, I thought that next year was the year, but that Giants game was so damn bad. Bad.
I thought the Eagles was
Wait
bad.
until you see the Falcons game.
I'm
Wait
worried.
until you see
Don't
this
worry, we're going to
Falcons game.
We're going to win it.
We're going into Atlanta, and they're going to smack the shit out of us, dude.
In an effort to try to push this along, I have one more point, and then I think we should. Are we going to do cat calls after this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My point is, I feel like the coaching staff in this organization approached building this team this year like I approached fantasy. I approached fantasy match. Oh man, Curtis Samuel, he's been good. He hasn't been fantastic. He had a decent year last year, but he's going to a brand new place. And I'm like, oh, he's got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's put him on there. I bet you he's going to, with no evidence whatsoever that he was going to be able to come out there and be a stud. I drafted him, right? And then, I go and draft a guy who's going to another place because he's got, a decent matchup later on down the year. Like, I feel like they pieced together this team. Like, if he were in the right scenario, he could probably do well. Cam Irving, he could come over here and play really good at left tackle with no evidence whatsoever that he could. But he hasn't been great, right? If you're going to sign a free agent, you want to be he's not been good. He's been below average, to be fair. And then you bring over Pat Elflein with no real history of him being able to do anything that was actually positive in this league, right?
And a lot of history of him sucking too.
Right. And just hoping that your system can actually correct the issues that maybe they've had, or maybe plan around them with no evidence whatsoever that it was going to happen. And it is called analytics, but it's also something that has failed this team over the past 2 years, and it's not worked. right? You can call it analytics all you want, but there is no analytics that show Cam Irving was a good left tackle. There is no analytics that said Pat Elflein was a good left guard. There was no analytics that said Dennis Daly was going to be an answer at right guard, or
point.
that, you know, listen, there's nothing. There was no evidence of that. You can sit there and say analytics all day, every day, but no analytics. There is no statistic that said that these guys were going to be good. There is nothing that said that if you put these guys together, even though they have been below average and they have nothing to kind of piece them together that's actually good, like they're going to all of a sudden be a good offensive line. I mean, that's a joke.
That's where it comes back. All this is, first of all, it comes back to the offensive coaching. Yeah. Right now, everything has been, not everything, but at the end of the day, when we come down to coaching, look, is that it's been offense and special teams that have been the linchpins of weakness for us. I mean, that's simple. So who does that fall on? It falls on those guys. It don't fall on Phil Snow, right? It don't fall on Derek Brown. It don't fall on I don't want to hear none of this crap about Brian Burns not being that good or whatever. You know, like those are the things. They're way down the list.
You know what?
Issues
to add to that
way
analytics
down the list, and I just wish that here is who made the decision that they could. And I thought these coaches, and I mean, look, that's why I'm not fucking getting paid anything. Right. I said this yesterday, and I tweeted this. I thought it was a good tweet. I think y'all need to give me some recognition. And that is, I thought my Monday sucked. And I thought I was going to say this. I felt bad for I said it better on Twitter. Now I'm screwing it up. But Matt Rhule, I was like, who had a worse Monday than Matt Rhule? I thought he was going to have the worst. But then I checked my bank account. Like, the fact is yeah, he had I felt bad for him on Monday. Like, God, who could have I didn't want to go to work. I felt terrible after that loss and all of this crap. But that mug got $10 million in his bank account. Ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I ain't even feeling sorry for him. I ain't feeling sorry for nobody. And I've got mad questions about the philosophy and the oversight of this team. Because at the end of the day, we're going to run more. You guys told me he was blasting it on Twitter. We didn't even do what he blasted.
How about that? Yeah, we ran less times. We ran 30 something times against Philadelphia, and we ran 17 against the Giants.
It's ridiculous. All right, let's
go. Listen, this is why it's just pissing me off.
I'm mad with Joe Brady.
Have I not been saying this for weeks though? That Matt Rhule, especially in his press conferences, dude, he's really starting to piss me off in a way that Ron Rivera never did. And like, at least Rivera was like a cold hard ass, and you knew that he was going to be that way, and you knew that purposely he wasn't going to tell you a lot. But Matt Rhule is the opposite in that he says a whole bunch of words, but he's not saying a fucking thing. And if he is, it's actually the opposite of what he's saying. So when you hear that the Panthers have their best day of training, and did they go out and
right? Yes, exactly. The best. We had the best practice. Then we had the worst game against the Eagles. Then we had this guy's playing great. Like we believe he's working all hard. Now, how about this? The last one in this litany of whatevers is will Joe Brady be the play caller? And he's like, and you know what his answer was? Is he's a great coordinator. And you're like, oh, fuck, this dude's getting fired this week.
Yeah, you know, it's not long, man. Dude, and apparently, I think Cat Crave put it out today that people at LSU, like all the big boosters and all that, they want Joe Brady.
That's a mistake.
For the life of me, I don't fucking know why. Yeah, I don't know. It's the dumbest shit in the world to me. But hey, but then again, we're now stuck in another position, Tony. Let's say Joe Brady's out the door and we have a terrible season, and it doesn't matter. He goes to be the coach of LSU. So what? Now what are we doing? We're going searching, finding for another, cast off offensive coordinator that's going to run the offense and hopefully not make Christian McCaffrey run on every fucking play. It's like, dude, we're always having to.
If it gets to that point, and this is the scary part for me, and that's why I have been scared. This is why the Deshaun Watson stuff don't make me excited at all, because these problems I feel like all of a sudden might be scarier at a higher level than I thought they were. because it's not like Joe Brady's leaving because he's successful. He's leaving because he gets fired potentially.
Right.
And then that also means that Rhule didn't know who to pick and things are going bad. And it almost is, what is he talking
I
about?
don't know. I just saw that. And
Is he talking about my gray hair? You fucking
I
dick
don't
face?
know. I just saw it and I put it up.
Whatever. We're going to cat calls, you fuckers.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing? G Cavassier.
What up, G?
Hey man, I don't know about y'all. I'm just waiting on this Deshaun Watson shit. You know, I'm at a point right now. If we're gonna get him, we're gonna get him. If not, then we're not. My only question to you guys is, I was watching something on YouTube, and it's basically saying if he goes to Miami or if he goes to Carolina, and Denver was brought up in the situation, even though I don't see him playing for the Denver Broncos at all. Is he going to play this year? Let's just say that, you know, they pull the trigger on Deshaun Watson, and, hey, Watson's a damn Panther. Do you see him playing this year at all? Or do you see him, you know, actually starting Sunday or next Sunday? You know, it's one thing that has me damn puzzled. I mean, I don't know. You know, I think he's a hell of an upgrade over Sam Darnold and P.J. Walker. But if we get him, you know, is he going to play this season? And another thing before I let y'all go, you ever notice that none of these sexual allegations came up until he said he wants out of Houston? Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how all of a sudden all these accusations came up. It's kind of odd to me. It really is. He got 22, I think, cases against his ass or some shit like that, man. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. Y'all always remember, y'all keep pounding.
Yeah, the Deshaun Watson stuff, it does seem more and more connected to Miami, less and less likely to Carolina, and to the fact that Cody said that the Easter Bunny is taller than Santa Claus. And whoever that guy with the Texas Longhorn moniker is, I will boop.
Smack your ass around, boy. That's what he
God.
said.
You don't even want to fuck with me these days, homie. This dude, big time right here. Next call.
Man, fuck the Panthers. I'm so fucking pissed at these motherfuckers, dude. I can't believe, you know, a lot of people are going to say that the New York Giants going in, you know, that this was a trap game for us to lose. Man, fuck that. The Panthers are exactly who we thought they were. They're a bunch of fucking pretenders. They're a bunch of fucking fakers. I can't fucking sit here and fucking defend them no more, bro. Fuck those motherfuckers. You know what they're going to do? They're going to fucking sit back. They're going to fucking lose every single motherfucking game from here on out. That's what they're going to fucking do to us. And then whenever we got prime position to get a fucking top 5 pick, they're going to win one of the bullshit-ass games at the end, just so they can fucking piss on our faces. I'm so fucking sick and tired of fucking rooting for a team that I fucking grew up loving. I'm so fucking sick and tired of these motherfuckers, dude. I thought after getting rid of our first general manager, I thought after getting rid of Ron Rivera, that this team was going to fucking come back and fucking put my faith back. Man, fuck that. I'm so fucking sick of this shit.
Here, he's got part 2.
You know, I got one more thing to say too. What's the likelihood of us trading our coach? You know, let's trade Matt Rhule. Let's trade lazy Joe Brady. Let's trade along with fucking Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson. Let's trade all 4 of those motherfucking has-been fucking losers. Fuck those motherfuckers. Fucking sell those motherfuckers off and fucking start the rebuild right there. That's what we should do. Trade those motherfuckers. Because at this point, I'd really rather have the fucking Detroit Lions head coach as our head coach. That's what I.
What if we traded all of them away and we said, we're not going to have any coaches. We're just going to let Deshaun Watson handle everything at this point. Oh, man.
I think that's the saddest part. And Cody, I think that you misinterpreted my how we're gonna be better with Watson, like be a different team, is because what I think that the last couple of games have really made me question is the capability and the upside of some of these guys
The coaches
at the coaching level. Yeah, because what I said last year is I didn't need to see a lot, but each week we got better. And that's what I wanted to see. Another thing I wanted to see from Matt Rhule last year was that he didn't look in over his head. Joe Brady, how about this? Is that was never fully had not been an like full-time offensive coordinator anywhere. But yeah, had a lot of upside, and a lot of people are telling me he's going to be. So what I wanted to see was that the offense didn't look out of sorts last year, and it didn't. I thought that all signals pointed to Joe Brady, like, hey, not revolutionizing football. I didn't need that. I just needed the offense to look like it knew what it was doing and getting better. And Matt Rhule not being in over his head. I feel like the last 3 weeks, the two people that I feel look most in over their head are Joe Brady and Matt Rhule. And it's disconcerting to me about the future. It's not even that I need to fire them. I don't even think firing them is the right answer. I just think we're not going to know the answer for another year and a half. But right now, the signs and the tea leaves are not reading the right direction. And I want our coaching staff to be an advantage, something that is making us better each week. And they look beaten and battered. And right now, I think that Joe Brady is not anything more than a play caller at this point. And what I mean by that is he might be a great play caller, but there might be more to the offensive coordinator job than just being a play caller.
And listen, my take on Joe Brady is very simple to understand and very nuanced at the same time. It's that Joe Brady could be a lot better. And one of the things that CK and I said is that if you look at that Giants offense and how they use Daniel Jones, and if you have a mobile quarterback like that, that's strong and physical and can do those kinds of things, then yeah, make a concerted effort to get Sam outside of that pocket that he isn't doing very well behind anyway. He does make good throws on the run. Why not do more of that? Why not run more RPOs? Do things to put Sam in an advantageous position to use his athleticism at the same time where he's not so completely dependent on his offensive line. I think that's a great point. But I still maintain that Joe Brady is not the biggest problem with this offense. He just isn't. And I'm not saying that he isn't a problem. He just isn't the biggest one. And I don't think that Joe Brady.
Well, I don't know if you could quantify first of all, you can't say anybody's a bigger problem than the offensive line. And we've been saying that since the beginning of the year. And then second, he's got to be third on the list at this point.
Oh, for sure. And that's where
then Sam Darnold, then
at
Joe
least
Brady.
second.
Well, and hold on, and the Panthers have the most drops of any receiving core in the NFL right now. Robbie Anderson is one of the lowest graded wide receivers because of drops too. And again, how many of those plays are positive yardage if either Sam makes the throw or the receivers make the catch? And again, I'm not saying Joe Brady isn't, he could definitely be a lot better. But Joe Brady right now is not what gives me pause and what keeps me up at night about this Panthers offense. It's the quarterback is every bit the player that he was in New York. And this offensive line has been entirely mismanaged and improperly evaluated.
Don't you think he should be getting
through
more
free
out of
agency
these guys,
and roster alignment?
That's where that's my disappointment. For me, it's not the play call. It's not like, we can look at the Giants game and say, oh, well, he rolled him. That's all anecdotal to me.
I think he's not
it's
a
like
good teacher.
each play. is for me is that he hasn't found a way to work with what he's got better. And
Right.
that is like who Sam. Well, you know what? Turns out Sam Darnold is who he is. Sucks for you. Sucks for all of y'all, but that's what you got to play with. You know what I'm saying? You got to cut the grass in your lawnmower. You know, I used to have a lawnmower that only turned left. Like I live on like an acre, and I rode this lawnmower until I could not get anything out of it. At the end, it could only turn left. So like I had to cut my yard in this crazy ass circle all the time. Like I could never turn right. And anytime I had to turn right, I had to back up. But guess what I did? I cut the lawn for a month with it. Or a year with, like, that's what I'm saying is that, God, why does it look this bad, bro?
Can I at
This
least
bad.
I think it's important that I express my opinion, and this is why. Again, I'm going to reiterate a couple of pieces, but I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, I think that it does. All the things that Cody you mentioned are exactly why Joe Brady is absolutely the biggest concern on this team, right? And it has to be if our best part of our offense, which is supposed to be our wide receiver core, is one of the lowest ranking wide receiver core in the league right now because of what they're doing, right? If our running game is not doing well, if our offensive line is not playing well, and our quarterback is not playing well, our tight ends aren't playing well, well, guess what? That is a massive failure on your entire offense, and that falls on your offensive coordinator. Now, let's go back a little bit, because we can sit here and talk about how Joe Brady has to call a vanilla gameplay because he's got a quarterback that's not executing correctly, and the wide receivers aren't actually catching the ball, all of this stuff. This game plan has been vanilla since game 1, since we were winning, and since game 2 when we were winning, and since game 3 when we were winning. It has been vanilla the entire time. Every time in the post game, we were not excited. After the New Orleans game was our most excited that we've ever been, and we still had problems with the way our offense was run, and it was running well, right? And that all still goes down to what Joe Brady is as an actual coordinator. You can't sit here and blame the drops, because that didn't happen until the last couple of weeks, the last 3 or 4 weeks, right? That didn't happen in the first 3 weeks when the play calling was vanilla. Like it does boil down to Joe Brady.
Is he supposed to catch it?
Was Ron Rivera supposed to tackle the players?
Was Ron Rivera supposed to make sure his team was tackling people when you wanted to fire him?
That? Oh, yeah.
Well, no, but I'm saying if they weren't dropping to begin with, dropping it to begin with, then originally they were being coached up in the right way.
Goalpost,
but then now they're dropping it, and now it's on him. Again, man, how about this?
So bad. We're eating our own children. We're devouring our own children.
I don't think he's a good teacher. How about that? I think Joe Brady can call some good plays, but I don't think he's good at being a leader of men and coaching people up and actually teaching them proper technique. I don't think that Joe Brady is the guy for that. Matt Rhule is supposed to be the guy. That's your head coach.
Then why have a coordinator?
He's not he is not the biggest problem on this offense.
So is his inexperience part of it? I don't see. This is where I don't like to hear this. What I don't like to hear is that he's not a good teacher. I don't even know that to be the case. Is at this point, I just think that he's inexperienced. Is that I think that some of that, like, I don't like this idea, and I especially with Sam, we're gonna go through the calls. I thought this was Sam Darnold, is I didn't want to just put it in like he can't be something. Right now, he is not that. After this Giants game, I'm leaning more to the camp that he can't be. I am going to say that. I am going to say that. But, I just don't like that. Just because they're not that now does not mean they can't be. Right? So, like, I just think this is Sam Darnold. Not Sam Darnold. Joe Brady's second-year coordinator. I thought it was going to be better still, regardless of him being just a second-year guy. Anyway, this is how bad things are, is that right now we're kind of turning on not only on each other in the podcast in a way, but also on the own team, and that's where I wasn't at last year, Cody. I wasn't like that. Is that you could have told me it was one thing, this or that. and I thought the future was going to be. Right now, after this past 2 weeks, it's been hard to me to have some optimism about and faith and optimism in the things that I was optimistic about, i.e. Matt Rhule and Joe Brady. That's where it's tough for me. It's just simply tough for me to be optimistic. Next call.
What's up, C3 Podcast? It's Cody. I ain't been
a while, Carl.
Tuesday? Hold on, wait a minute. I must get my days mixed. What y'all doing now? I'm at work. I just happened to look. I'm like, oh crap, my boy's on. Cody, I have a thing. Yeah, some gonna just suck. Let's go ahead, Cody. You need to get me and your boy some Clemson. Just go ahead and do it, Tepper. I mean, what can we lose? What do we have to lose now, Tepper Nation? And fellas, if I hear another person say, well, treat Sam Darnold like he's a rookie and dude is 24 and been in the league 4 years, treat this dude like you're a rookie and still make rookie mistakes, pacifying this guy, I'm going to explode. I mean, freaking explode. But
he's got a part 2, by the way.
Y'all keep pounding. All right, this Cody. I had to call back. I just listened to a section. Tony, really? You lay off my man Cody. Cody knows what he's talking about. I'm going to agree with Cody. Deshaun Watson has proven that with a bad offensive line, he excels. So, yes, I agree with Cody. If we had Deshaun Watson, we would succeed in Carolina. Our offensive line is nowhere near as terrible as the Texans.
God damn, that must have been the fucking worst line in the history of the world.
Cody, to sit there and defend David Tepper, get out of here, dude. Come on, man.
Wait, what is it? I didn't defend Tepper. I'm shitting all over Tepper.
All over these people, look in the comments each and every week. They're all trash Tony. They love Cody. He's got this like fan club. I want to remind y'all. I almost said fools, and I love y'all. Actually, I built this city.
You're the man.
I love my it's tough though right now. Is that how can you? This offensive line, I mean, think about it. What is the worst off Panthers offensive line? And I've been doing this podcast now straight since 2013. And I have bitched on this podcast since 2013 about the state of the offensive line. My friend, he makes fun of me now. Like, I go on the radio on Pirate Radio, and he's like, dude, you came up here for like 57 straight weeks and talked shit about Byron Bell. Like crazy. And it was true. And at this point, like in retrospect, looking back after all these years, Byron Bell is not the worst left tackle we've had. He's not, and that's sad because he's like the worst left tackle in the history of football almost. But Matt Khalil, now this offensive line across the board is not good. Taylor Moton right now is living off a reputation, it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, and not that, look, I don't think he's a bad player or anything. And I do think offensive line is contingent on who's playing around you. So, like, hey, I'm not even going to shit on him. But, like, there is not one other piece on this offensive line that is even average other than Taylor Moton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, add into that call and to what Cody and everybody's talking about with this, like, I'm totally with Tony on this with the Deshaun Watson thing. Yes, he's going to improve the team, but what you're going to do is you're going to mortgage the future of the franchise. Like, I get that he can play behind a shitty offensive line. We've seen that movie. Do we want to build our franchise around a quarterback that can play within an offensive line, or would we rather build an offensive line and it broadens the perspective or the amount of quarterbacks we could have to play behind that? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all because I feel like you're not looking further down the road if you want Deshaun Watson to be your guy. I'm not by any means saying he's not a great quarterback. I'm not by any means saying he wouldn't improve the team, but it's not the best move, because we need to build bigger things than just the quarterback right now. It doesn't matter who we put behind the line. Eventually, they're going to fall because of this line. I love Deshaun Watson. You're right. He could probably play behind this crappy line, but we've seen that. Do we really want that again?
I disagree with Greg here in that I don't think it's mortgaging the future as much. I'm just saying if you bring Deshaun Watson in, it doesn't fix this year.
3 first-round picks.
That's it. Well, I mean, maybe, but I would say that next year is a different plan and different things like that. Yeah. I'm just saying that all of a sudden this year, after that Giants game put me in a dark place. In a dark place about this team is that you couldn't even. It was 5-3 at halftime. 5-3, and 2 of those points were scored by our own fucking offense against us.
I do not trust this football team to beat anyone right now. How could you?
No.
And I said that during the postgame show. Put the Dolphins in. Put the Jaguars in. Put the Falcons in. You name them. Pick whoever you think the worst team is, and I don't trust the Panthers to beat them. And honestly, Tony, listen, I've been on this podcast 3 years. I've never been on this podcast and not bitched about this offensive line.
Yeah,
we are always
next year
complaining about this offensive line. And it seems like we're going to be fucking doing it forever, man. I'm at the point where we just have to really, acknowledge the situation that we're in. We have a football team that does not value very highly offensive linemen. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Scott Fitterer decides to do in an offseason where everyone knows the offensive line is the problem. Problem is, you might not have enough picks to do it.
Yeah,
that's the
all
thing.
right. Next call.
C3, sorry. I'm feeling extra lucky today. It's Frito Bandito again. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna skip this call.
C3 Panther Podcast Nation. It is your boy once again, the Frito Bandito.
What up, my man?
Look, boys, it's Monday. I gave it a day. It's around. I've been listening to the podcast for Sunday, post game. About an hour, 20 minutes in. Let's look, guys. I know we were upset about this whole situation, but I've done my fair share of research, and I think I know where our fucking problem is, boys. It's gonna be a hard pill to swallow for most fans, but it's that goddamn son of a bitchin' mascot of a goddamn bear they call Sir Purr. I did not once see this son of a bitch line up on the defense, not on the offense.
True.
Hell, fuck, not even on special teams.
Not pulling his weight.
I'm surprised that bastard wasn't on the sidelines. I tell you one thing, that is one fucking useless of a goddamn mascot. We really need him out there. He could have padded up like he usually does and get out there in that field and make a fucking difference. But you know what? He didn't do it. If Sir Purr's not out there, you can go ahead and pack your bags for the season, boys. Sir Purr knows the future. I need a Sir Purr from 2015 to bring his ass back out there like he was back then and fucking grind it with the team. But guess what? He wasn't there, boys. But all seriousness, let's just let this one fucking fly by. I mean, shit, we can blame everybody and anybody. But I have to admit with Sam Darnold, I did see those ghosts too on MetLife Stadium. I saw him on that field. I mean, I don't know how you guys didn't see it. There was a ghost on the 35-yard line eating a fucking corn dog, dogging that shit down. I didn't know fucking MetLife Stadium sold fucking corn dogs. Did you? I
didn't see it.
We sure as fuck was dogging it down.
Wow.
In other words, I'm going to call me some fucking Ghostbusters. Hell, maybe get the guys from Ghost Division to get out there.
We need to.
I saw some ghosts, and I'm scared.
Yeah, hate to see it.
All right, let's keep going.
C3, sorry. I'm feeling extra lucky today. It's Frito Bandito again. I'm sorry. I'm feeling extra lucky.
Frito.
I'm feeling really good or something. I don't know what the fuck I'm on. But
Bandito.
I don't know if you guys have noticed here in these past few games that there's a lot of communication issues. And with these reporters not being inside, the locker room, they can't really tell if there's a sense of urgency or if there's a sense of loss of the locker room or if the coaches are just not being the same. Like, we don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. The only ones who can actually give us an answer would be the janitors. I think the janitors is probably as close as you can get.
Yeah,
So,
why haven't we reached out to them yet?
I really think the whole David Tepper, Matt Rhule situation, I think Matt Rhule is the yes man. And I'm starting to get vibes that David Tepper might be the new Jerry Jones of the NFL. Am I worried? No. Am I scared? Yes. But the thing is, too, we have to look at is, Baylor and Temple, they all did the same thing trying to throw Matt Rhule under the bus. This is his second year being a head coach. I really think we should be holding our words until the end of the third season to see if the man is a bust or not. I mean, his formula is 3 years, guys. Am I right or am I wrong?
I'm fine. I was
maybe
fine
I'm
with that
crazy.
until this
But
fucking
let's see what happens next season. I mean, it seems like this Deshaun Watson report just keeps popping up a lot, and I don't understand if it's just.
All right, we're gonna
reporters
go
being
on Frito
reporters to
just to
report
move
the news.
along.
Hey guys, I called in a few weeks ago after the Eagles lost, and man, I hope you guys are doing well. I think you guys are one of the best in the business. Every Tuesday night, I look forward to it. So I come in, I'll chill out, and listen to what you guys got to say. Just great insight.
Appreciate you, brother.
Hope you guys are doing well, though. Just want to get. I didn't call in Sunday for the after show, but I just want to get out a few points that I had from this last weekend's loss. I mean, clearly another Sam Darnold masterclass. Yeah, exactly. Not really. Man, I just that game. It gives you sort of a trying to find what's the best way to put it. Like, we're not doing ourselves any favors, right? I mean, two of our first 3 drives started on our own 10-yard line. We don't help Sam get in a rhythm early. I think Sam's a quarterback that early starts really mean a lot for him. I think that's for a lot of quarterbacks, but especially him. Like, his confidence gets shot so easily. I've noticed, like, really easily. And he starts getting those head feet in the pocket. He starts predetermining where he's going to go, which is one of the biggest problems with Sam on tape. I mean, I watch a ton of it, and I'll go back and watch, and I'll see him. He'll like let's say this was a game the other night. It looked like this was on one play. They were sitting like 3 balls a week or something of the sort of that. And one of the corners, it was Bradbury actually. He was sitting in deep quarter. He just locked. Kind of, hey, if I'm not going there, I'm going here immediately. That's something that we've seen again and again, where once he's getting on one, he's getting to 2 immediately without really kind of diagnosing what's over onto. So that's just something that I want to see cleaned up. And if I'm Sean Ryan, I'm hammering home this week, hey, look at your eyes here. I'm honing in on the fact, well, hey, you got sort of, when your eyes are kind of not locked in with your feet like they should be, it causes a lot of problems mechanically, and we've seen that time and time again with Sam. And it's frustrating because we've seen Sam, right? I mean, man, just makes some throws that we're like, hey, this guy could be a starting caliber quarterback, but they don't have stuff like that. Who have the predetermination, who have the lack of anticipation, which is killing us offensively. I mean, some of the same things we saw last year, just missing layered concepts from Teddy. 1 second, I think it's about to run out. I'm gonna give like a second brief call. 1 second, I think that's how it finishes up. I really think it's a combination right now with this offense, right? I mean, we have one of the worst pass block win rates in the league. We have guys that really aren't maulers up front. Man, I don't know how much you guys have watched him. I watched the Colts 49ers game the other night. I've been watching these from the Colts. I think they're a pretty fun team. But Chris Reed is still that absolute mauler in the running game that I think we're missing. Like, if Matt Rhule wanted to be this, hey, run the ball sort of control the clock toward a team. Push Reed really made some sense, man. He is that guy. I mean, man, I'm just ever so impressed with him. His hand
Who is he
placement.
talking about? Who is Push Reed?
Push Reed. I thought he was saying Matt Rhule at first.
All right, I'm going next call because it's late.
What's going on, C3 Nation? This your boy Jay Anderson.
Thanks for your support, by the way.
Yo, man, I know people are just upset, but look,
I think he meant Matt Rhule.
You know,
What's up,
we can all blame Coach Matt Rhule, and he's to blame. You know, you can get on Scott Filler or whatever his name is for wasting the second round draft pick on Sam Darnold, who is basically worth a 7th round
at this point
trade. But this is all Tepper's. I've been saying this ever since last year. This is all Tepper's fault. This is David
Cody's
Tepper's doing. We all been saying that, you know, from the get-go. Okay, if they're gonna let go Cam, cool. That's cool. But the 2020 season should have been a race for Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, or even Trey Lance. Could have got them boys.
What I was saying all last year.
We got them. We just didn't pick them.
First of all, you're wasting your money. I mean, first of all, you did bad by keeping Marty Hurney. But you should have let him go. We should have got Andrew Berry. Then you hired a college coach who wasn't even really a top-ranked coach. He was a top-hype coach. On Matt Rhule. Any genius knows you don't hire no college coach with no NFL experience like that. He had 1 year NFL experience, and he went and hired just because he looks like Tepper. And that is Tepper's doing. Tepper even said it himself, that he looks just like me, he dresses like me. Now, I can go deep in that issue and stuff, but I won't go there because I won't go there. But this is all Tepper's doing. We hired Joe Brady, who
now more and more people are linking to Tepper. People think.
So I'm not going to waste my time on Joe Brady. I'll probably say something about that, later on down the season. But this is all Tepper's doing. We've been saying like the right thing he should have done. Got a GM, got an NFL head coach who would have picked a better coaching staff and stuff like that. We probably wouldn't waste a draft pick on Sam Darnold or nothing like that. Probably could have got Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence or something. I mean, we could have built. You can't, and I see people trying to compare this to Ron Rivera first 2 years. You can't compare because Ron Rivera first year we saw potential in this team, in this franchise. We looked, that 2011 season, even we all knew it was we didn't have a great defense.
Let me see. Nope, that's his only call. I think first, go ahead, Cody, because that's your stick, not your stick. I think you've been on that hill though, and I think there's a lot of good points to pointing to David Tepper's fingers being involved in this, or fingerprints involved in.
And
this.
If you go back to those, inside access videos that they did where they showed the draft room. I mean, listen, David Tepper was in there, involved on every single decision. He was a very lively part of the discussion, damn near leading the conversation. It was a three-way thing between Matt Rhule, Scott Fitterer, and Dave Tepper. And I want everyone to keep in mind that, especially coming from the business and the background that David Tepper comes from, he's used to having to be aggressive, to make aggressive moves that matter. And when he feels that he knows what he's talking about, he's going to double down. He's the owner of the football team, and no one really has the balls to tell him different. If I was the owner, I would hire someone who had no problem telling me no. Someone who had no problem saying, listen, this is not the right way to go about it. There's a process that you have to undergo to build a football team into being a legitimate perennial contender. And there are certain things that you have to do, and there's a certain order that you have to do them in. You can't just expect to put this in the microwave and get a 5-star meal. It doesn't work like that.
There ain't not a single owner out there that is going to want to hire somebody that's willing to tell them no.
But you know what? You have to though.
Well, I bet
you have to.
Yeah, Bill Belichick might, but yeah.
But especially if you have an owner like David Tepper, who listen, he put aside the Appaloosa management thing to be more involved with the Panthers football team. So we're being foolish if we're all thinking that David Tepper doesn't have heavy sway into every single decision.
No,
that
we
the
thought
Panthers
at
have
first
made.
it was cool. How about this? Is at first we thought it was so cool to have an owner that was, look at my picture on Twitter. CK is the one that spotted him as we're walking down the street, and he's walking around. He showed up at the Roaring Riot tailgate. He changed the logo. He's dancing around, right? And it seemed like, oh man, it's an owner that brings excitement and enthusiasm. But at the same time now is that he also turns out to be a billionaire that gets whatever he wants, obviously. And I don't even know if it's hard to tell an owner what to do, but it's certainly hard to tell a billionaire fucking owner like that dude what to do. But I want to go back just real quick to thinking about this, and this is where my trepidation about this coaching staff has started to creep in. And Cody, you've been very firm. Week 6 is when you start to learn about a team. In 2012, though, Ron Rivera was on the hot seat. His second year as a coach, he had never been a head coach before, right? You had some progress in Cam's first season that brought some excitement, and then we started out the season like this: a loss to Tampa, a win against New Orleans, but then we lost against the Giants, the Falcons, the Seahawks. We had a bye in week 6. Then we lose to Dallas and Chicago after the bye. And at this point, this seat was heating up for Ron Rivera. People did not have any patience. Kind of like, I think, where we're at a little bit right now with Matt Rhule. But Ron Rivera and the Carolina Panthers reel off. They win 6 out of their next 9 games. And
but even that
right
season...
away, and Ron always had good Novembers and Decembers until after the Super Bowl. Then it turns out after the Super Bowl, he got comfortable. Anyway, my point being is that I remember those years, so I don't want to go crazy. But right now, when I saw Matt Rhule's press conference, and he looked beaten and battered, and there's questions about Joe Brady, and saying we had Cam at least at this point. We weren't like, oh, well, I don't know if Cam's going to be good. That kind of thing. Is right now, I don't foresee the Panthers reeling off 6 out of the next 9. That's kind of my point. And
it's been so long. Did we have Chud in 2012?
No, I think this might have been Shula. I think Chud goes. I think he was only with us for maybe. Actually, here I can look it up because the coach and not look it up. It'll be right here, I'm sure.
Because I remember
this was Ron Chudzinski. He was with us for 2 years, 2011 and 2012. Then he goes and becomes the Browns head coach in 2013. We still were good with Mike Shula, who we promoted from the quarterbacks coach. Right. So we went 12-4 the next year. But I just don't feel like this team is going to get stronger in the back end of the season. And if it does, it's because Stephon Gilmore and all of a sudden Shaq comes back and this defense goes from pretty good to damn doggish. I don't know if that's really going to truly happen.
That 2012 defense was an issue, though.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. They were talking. They were going to fire people wanted to get rid of Sean McDermott, though. And look at how Sean McDermott's long-term success. Not only does it turn out that what we found is that arguably Ron Rivera's success may be most linked to Sean McDermott in the end. Right? Because when Sean McDermott left is really when the wheels on the Ron bus came off it just couldn't get it back together. And look at what Sean McDermott has been able to do in Buffalo. So it's like, but even in 2012, at this point, he was the guy. Like these guys were all on the hot seat. But look at the back end of this schedule. They pulled it out of their ass. And that was with no personnel. I just feel like this. I don't see the Panthers. If you look at that
look at the scores.
Yeah. And at that back end, it's just so tough in the back end. We got to play the Bills. We got to play the Cardinals. It's gonna be a rough road, man. Let's go to the next call.
Hey guys, Kyle from VA. Just got off work. Get on Instagram. I'm looking into shit way too deep now. And yeah, Cam just posted a whole bunch of pictures saying stay ready so you don't gotta get ready. And he put up one of the pictures in the jump was a video, and in the background he's got the little Panthers painting and hanging in the background. I'm like, man, Cam ready to come back to Carolina. All we gotta do is get David Tepper to fucking get over himself and admit he was wrong and let him go for fucking Teddy Bridgewater, and then we let Teddy Bridgewater go for fucking Sam Darnold. Let man get over it. Go get Cam. He's a free agent. You ain't got to give shit away.
We ain't getting Cam.
Just go get the man.
This is going to make things even worse than Deshaun Watson at this point. Next call.
Hey, this is Kenneth. Listen, the reason why we quit running Sunday, and it doesn't seem like anybody wants to talk about this, Chuba Hubbard had 12 carries for 2.3 yards. He only had 28 yards. 12 carries for 2.3 yards. Now, Freeman had 3 carries for average 6 yards. Now, that's a total. That's an average total of 3.3 yards on 17 carries. You can't run if nobody's going to run block. Yes, we run better last year, but let's remember something. Last year, we had a run-blocking offensive guard named Chris Reed. Now, granted, he couldn't pass block, but he could run block. We also had Chris Manhurts, a run-blocking tight end who could run block.
Oh, that's what the caller was talking about. Did he stop?
We had the fullback, Alex Arma, who was an excellent lead blocker. We don't have anybody like that now. That's why you can't run, because we don't have any blockers. Again, it's pathetic roster building by those in charge of roster building.
All right, so I got to disagree with this. And when I disagree with this is go back and check I told you guys that our run blocking stunk from the beginning and that Christian McCaffrey made this team look better than they were in run blocking. But the problem with this past Sunday's game wasn't run blocking. I'm sure that was actually, it was a problem. I'm 100% sure. What wasn't a fucking problem on Sunday, number one. Number two, though, is that we were getting some look, even Matt Rhule came out and said we ran the ball well in the first half. The problem was we ran the ball 17 times, and we were down 2 points at the end of the first half. So it doesn't even matter. No matter how bad and shitty we were playing, the game was not out of hand, even close to being out of hand. That's why he benched Sam Darnold, because there was actually a chance you could have cobbled together a touchdown and all of a sudden be in the fucking game. Right. But here's the thing is that this is where I have gotten even more trepidation about the coaching staff after last week, where Matt Rhule says we got to get stronger. We got to get a tougher identity. We want to be a tough team. We got a different identity. He even said this, I'm on the headset. If I want to choose a different play, I can choose it. He said that the week before, right? So he's like, I don't do that, but I'm listening. It's not like if I don't want to go for it on 4th and 1 and Joe Brady says go for it, I can overrule him. Right. And I want to make running. We got to have this. And he had these numbers that he gave us, these 55 positive plays or whatever the fuck it was. And then they didn't do any of that. Not even close. Not even close. And when Sam Darnold was playing so terribly, why wouldn't you? You know, like, and that, I mean, that's why I like, at the end of the day, that's where I felt like Joe Brady showed kind of his inexperience is like, good God. I mean, Jesus. Like, just all right, let's do what Ron Rivera would do in this is that we suck, but we're going to win 9-6 or 9-5. Fuck it. Like, let's just win 9-5 and get the fuck out of here and live to fight another day. But we didn't do that. We went out and embarrassed ourselves at every damn level. It was embarrassing for our coaching staff and for every single player on this team. Even people are talking about how DJ Moore ain't even that good anymore now. Like, he's got the third drive. I was like, wait a second. How is this? This is where we're at? DJ Moore is the problem, folks? No.
But so, you know that term, one bad apple spoils a bunch? Well, I think that we've got a certain few people in the coaching staff and as players. Again, none of them as people, but just for the job that they do, we've got a few bad apples that are spoiling the bunch.
Matt Rhule talks about alphas a lot. Right? He's like, I want a bunch of dogs on this team. And that's cool. Me too. That's what I want to roll with. But you know what? I might need Matt Rhule to be a bigger dog right now.
Right. And also the people that he's putting in place, it doesn't feel like they're dogs, right?
They
one
put a
question,
bunch of cucks in.
One question, and I just want it to be a simple yes and no question if you guys are cool with it. So that way we can kind of move on. Is Sam Darnold redeemable?
No.
No.
Not here.
I don't think so.
Not here.
Not with this team. If there was any hope to rejuvenate his career, we needed to have a much better offensive line if we were going to do it. And we all said that if this was going to bust, it was either going to boom or it was going to bust. Or at least that's what I said. And if it was going to bust, it was going to be because this offensive line wouldn't allow him to be anything other than the guy that we saw him play as with the Jets.
He's got to pull a Jameis. He needs a Jameis. He needs a Jameis moment.
If we fired Joe Brady and we hire another offensive coordinator and it turns out to be a good offensive coordinator, is Sam redeemable?
I see a lot of
redeemable means 3 more wins, then yes. If it means being great, then the answer is no.
I don't see a lot of leadership material in him. I think we have to be fair. If we said that about Teddy Bridgewater, I think we should also say that about Sam Darnold. And I think Sam Darnold has a lot of flaws to his technique, to his drops, to him not going through his progressions, to him not being comfortable in the pocket, even when there is a clean pocket, as rare as that is. There's a lot of things that he has to fix, and maybe it could have been fixed. But another thing I think we're learning is that this isn't the coaching staff to do it if it was going to be fixed.
You know what I'm learning as well?
No, we just don't have the time, CK, to really figure it out and invest that much more. We're investing 1 season in him. We thought we could do it in 17 games. If things don't turn around in the next 10 games really quickly, then the answer is 100,000% no in Carolina. But I do think that some of these guys, that if they could go and become a backup somewhere on a good team, and then the player that they're backing up goes down, step in and then find success under. I don't think so. That if that's the answer to redeemable,
Nick Foles.
I mean, even if you think of what Jake Delhomme did, is Jake Delhomme. Now he did come into a team that wasn't great at the time, but he played. Nobody thought he was going to be a good quarterback. He played in NFL Europe. He played as a backup for the Saints. Is that maybe maybe this is kind of the downfall of this new era of football, where it's like you got to be great from at the beginning, or else you're not great. You can't ever play. Kind of like a Josh Rosen. Does Josh Rosen not deserve a snap at all? He certainly don't deserve a starting job. That's for sure.
Right.
But maybe if a guy comes in the right situation behind like a Tom Brady, say Tom Brady went down, Like you said, Greg, Nick Foles type thing. All right, let's next call.
Hey guys, it's Joey. I was tuning in to the post game. I was there, but I was on the train, and I really wasn't feeling too good about this loss. And I don't want to scare a whole train full of people by
yelling,
by pulling a G baby, because that's really how I felt. I was really pissed. Like, how the fuck do we lose to the Giants? But I mean, oh, and on the train, I was like, I don't know why the hell I would do this to myself, but I'm gonna look at the game because I heard we would lose in 25-3. I'm gonna look at the game. I don't know why I would do this to myself after having read Riding the Ring of Fire, the greatest ride ever built. But I did. I'm busy right now. But I did, even though I shouldn't have. So, I know we lost the Giants. And
is anybody going to say it?
I don't think we could go anywhere but up from here. Like, I really don't.
Nope.
I mean, unless we lose like 60-0 to the Falcons, but
possible.
I don't even want to talk about that. Anyway, guys. Wow.
Speaking of G baby.
Hey guys, Kyle from VA.
Oh no,
Just got off work.
I got a G baby. I swear I thought I saw a G baby call in here.
Do we have like a million calls?
No, we're almost done.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I mean we do have a million calls. I'm trying to see who's next.
You gotta clear out the cache.
I am not going. You go through and delete them all, dude. I just play them, and I just
I'll
watch.
do it.
All you got to do is look at the ones that are dark black. That's what I just do. Is the ones that are dark black are new.
I would still erase all.
Hi, this is Cody. Hey, I had to chime in one more time tonight.
Oh,
hey,
what's
Cody. Well, first of all, Tony and Cody, Codizzle A. Y'all, what is wrong with y'all? Do y'all not watch? Do y'all not watch the NFL? Y'all sound like Deshaun Watson is a bum.
Really?
Never said that.
Hey, you keep talking about somewhere. I don't know.
Y'all, I don't want to hear it. Sorry, I'm cutting it off. Sorry, Cody. I love you. I'm cutting that off because y'all hear this. Is what y'all are hearing what you want to hear. That's the God's honest truth. You're hearing what you want to hear. Now my point has nothing to do with Deshaun Watson being a good being able to play football well. It's about the immediate impact on this team of how high that ceiling truly would be in this season. And right now, I'm sorry, I got some other concerns other than just Sam Darnold.
Can I ask a real quick question? Just a real quick. Can I ask just a real quick question? Is that okay? When you said Deshaun couldn't change the trajectory of this team, is that just limited to Deshaun, or could I copy and paste any quarterback in this Panther situation, and you think that it's not going to be enough?
Any quarterback.
Not for this season. Yeah. For this season, I don't care who you put on the team. I think it would change it in a positive direction. That's not what I'm saying. It's like all of a sudden we would be is that right now we have a car that's not running. Right? Is that if you gave me Deshaun Watson, the car, all of a sudden we got the engine running, but it still has flat tires and we don't have any insurance and that kind of stuff. You know, and that's my thing with Deshaun is that I mean, look, we watch Cam do this, make chicken salad out of chicken shit all the time. Look,
Chat wants to hear the call. They said, no, man.
Fine.
Hi, this is Cody. Oh, dude, he is way better than saying, oh, my fucking Darnold. Come on, man. You don't know football. If you don't know that, you don't know football.
Chat and timeout too.
You don't know football, dude. If you can see that, if y'all can't see that this dude will make a significant difference on the team, and not the And let's not forget he did this without an offensive line. And y'all crazy as you know what? You
We're
don't
not
know
saying
football
that.
at all, either one of them. And Tony, you my boy. But you capping now. You and Cody are capping. Straight capping.
Hey, I will
not
be.
letting them
saying.
speak. Hey, look,
I'll
I'm cutting
be-
them off twice now because that's not. It's a misconstrue of
right.
what we're saying.
Not what we're saying at all.
entirely.
We're not saying he's not talented, but I think it's an important distinction here. How many playoff games has Deshaun Watson won with that Texans offense?
They've been in the outside of last year. They've been in the playoffs almost every year.
But how many playoff wins have they gotten?
Oh, worse.
I mean, I have
division
to
in
look.
football.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
haven't won
beat
anything.
the Bills.
One time, I think, with Bill O'Brien
Right.
went past got one playoff win or something.
And that was
like
with one of the best
AFC
defenses
Championship
in the
years ago, but
that was with one of the best defenses that they had, and they had Hopkins. I mean, and their offensive line wasn't garbage either. Like, it's been progressively worse as he's gone along, and last year was bad, right? What I'm trying to say is, even last year when he was playing out of his freaking mind, what did their team do? Absolutely nothing, right? So I'm just putting out there that, listen, as much as I love the idea of what Deshaun Watson could do, and I think we're all agreeing. Like, I think Deshaun Watson, in my mind right now, there is literal like a tug of war going on, right? Because there's a part of me that absolutely would love to be able to watch the Panthers be able to throw the ball down the field and actually have a quarterback that can float the ball right where it needs to be and have those electrifying plays, right? I would love that. I would absolutely love it. And if we traded for Deshaun Watson, that part of me would be absolutely ecstatic. But the reality is, the majority of what we have is not going to be like, we're going to have to give up way too much, and there's going to be way too much risk involved. And again, we're looking at maybe even if we were able to make it to the playoffs this year, if we were able to make it to the playoffs this year with Deshaun Watson, we're not a Super Bowl caliber team, right? We're not going to be beating the Bucks. We're not going to be beating the Cardinals.
Yeah, actually, that would be my question: is do we beat the Cardinals on the road with Deshaun Watson and with the current state of this team? Do we beat the Bills on the road with the current state of this team? Do we beat the Buccaneers twice with the current state of this team with Deshaun Watson? And right now, I'd say even with the addition of Deshaun Watson, that we're not favorites in those games. Not even close.
I tell you what, no one.
You have a given
right
any
now.
given Sunday. It's kind of like that Cam thing. You remember what I said about Cam? I understand that, but I don't have faith in any other element of this team right now, Cody. Nothing.
I mean, we would have a chance. So listen, right now, the Panthers have no chance to win that game.
Sure, totally.
But
totally.
with Deshaun,
they disagree.
With Deshaun, you could not count the Panthers out of that game, especially if we got back J.C. Horn. Maybe if
would
Gilmore
you win all
started
of them?
playing
Because
well.
guess what? You would need to win all of them to make the playoffs.
And you're talking about the difference between the 12th pick and the 17th pick? Okay.
I know. All right.
Like,
I don't
that's
even
the
I'm
difference
so
it makes.
done with this
You know?
crap. I mean, I am, because you guys are misconstruing 100. You're hearing what you want to hear, folks. You're hearing what you want to hear. That's it. I'll give me Deshaun Watson next year. That's what I'll take. Especially if he ain't putting his dick on people's faces or whatever he's doing all the time. Can we ice some people up? Oh, anybody picking the Panthers? Who's picking the Panthers to win? That's it. I'm not even playing. I'm not playing any more calls. I'm not doing anything. We're done.
There's no more. Or there's,
I don't even care. There might be one more. I ain't even sneaking it. I'm not even looking. I'm angry, bro. I'm angry at y'all fools. You don't respect your elders. Number one. Number two. Nobody appreciates the founders, the founding fathers, and they just jump in. They just hear what they want to hear. So, Cody, you're picking the Falcons?
Dude, that just sounds like shit.
I am. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to do it right now. Actually, right now.
Falcons.
Dude, I mean, guys, I don't want this football team until I feel like I have a good reason to pick them.
Then
And
how
if
about you
I'm-
pick the
if I'm-
Panthers to lose?
If I'm taking my fandom out of this, the Falcons are at least starting to trend in the right direction, and the Panthers, meanwhile, are doing a complete 180 and regressing. I just don't have a lot of faith in Sam Darnold. I don't have a lot of faith in Matt Rhule to fix this offensive line. And I don't have
It
a
will
lot
be
of
an upset if we win. If we win, it will be an upset. Think about it. On the road.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you asked me earlier who was the favorite. The Falcons are just a home favorite. 3 points. That's it.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
I'm
the
picking it.
Falcons. I know
I have to, man. I'm
I
not
don't know if
gonna
I've
pick a
ever
score.
done that on this podcast either in 8 years. If I've ever picked the Falcons to beat the Panthers.
Fans, you have every
That's
right to
bad.
be upset and to be mad at the people that have mismanaged this and gotten our hopes up again for fucking nothing, man.
By the way,
anybody picking the Panthers to win this week?
I'm not.
Does anybody want the Panthers to win this week? Like, quite honestly, like, are we at the point right
That's
now?
a good
their
question.
return?
No,
Like,
I wanted
like,
to
Greg
win.
is the-
winning
look
2 or
at
3 more
this.
games going to help our cause at all?
That with
No.
Greg, we have become different people, haven't we? Isn't it scary? We have become Cody.
Never, ever, 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 ever do I want there to be a situation where we lose to the Falcons. Never in a million years do I want that ever in my life. Ever. So no,
I think
don't want
I'm,
the
Oh, I was gonna
I
say,
think-
where's the butt? Where's the butt?
But I think we lose tomorrow.
I think
Oh,
we're I think if we lose, I think we're like one loss away from the tank train, homie.
I mean, if we lose
I'm
this
sorry.
one, there's.
Yeah.
I mean, again, look at the back
And
half of the season. I don't mean to just continue to be a Debbie Downer. We're not winning many games in this season if we lose this one.
Nova. Nova Black.
This is our
What-
challenge to the coaching staff to prove us wrong, man. I want this coaching staff to come out and be some dogs, but right now they're a bunch of little pussies.
Nova.
And when I mean
what-
pussy, I mean like a little kitty cat.
We're just trying to be real, bro. What's gonna get better here, man? How is our offensive line gonna get better? How is Sam Darnold gonna get better, man? I'm talking from just a pure X's and O's perspective. Listen, of course I want the Panthers to win, but I have to think that they're gonna win before I'm gonna pick them. And right now, dude, they need to come off with something better because I expected them to beat Philly. I expected them to beat the Giants, and they didn't. And they let us down. So what am I going to do? Get the hopes up that we're going to finally get our first win in Megatron's butthole down there in Atlanta and finally get a victory? Or am I just going to be real about it and say, dude, this team is trending the wrong direction? Of course,
I'm not
pulling for
picking
the
them
Panthers.
until they win again. Like that's what they're gonna have
Yeah.
to do. Is once they win a game, then I'll start to pick them. But right now, I just cannot continue to believe something in this team more than they believe in themselves.
What was the record last week for everybody as far as like our picks around the table?
Ooh, gosh, I got it around here somewhere. Thought I had it somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I picked Miami.
I think we picked all the same.
No, I picked
'Cause
Atlanta.
I think, Tony, I think you and I picked Atlanta in the Miami game, or me and somebody picked Atlanta in the Miami game.
I
picked
picked
Atlanta.
Miami. I know
I'll
I
go
picked
back on
Miami. I picked New Orleans to beat
I picked
Seattle.
New Orleans.
The Tampa Bay, but yeah, we all picked Tampa.
Or maybe
And
I
Who
then
was
we all picked the Panthers, right? We all
Yeah,
picked
we
the
all
Panthers
picked the
and
Panthers,
the
yeah.
Giants.
I mean, we were again. That's what makes this so much worse, is because we were facing second.
Oh, now they're gonna win. Hell yeah. We're all
Yeah.
picking against the Panthers until they win.
Yeah, yeah.
Who else is playing? Where are the Bucks at? They
let me
got
pull that back up.
buys? Is this gonna make it easy? Oh, Bucks Saints, yes, and then we're out of here. How about that? It's a division week.
Oh yeah.
Look at the Buccaneers. I'm like the Saints are kind of feisty in a way.
Yeah, dude, I'm picking Tampa Bay.
How
And
do you
I'm
pick against
picking
Tampa?
Yeah, dude. Tom Brady, dude, he's in a class of his own, man. It's like people want to hate this dude, but he fucking does nothing but win.
Well, when he's supposed to win, they destroy. Right? It's not even like a situation like when they're okay. Like there's a close call. Like I see a lot of errors when they're going up against like quality teams. But when they're going up against not like the Giants, like if they weren't up against the Giants in the state that they were on Sunday, it would have been a massacre. So.
All right. Anybody
Shout out
picking the
Nova,
Saints?
man. Say
Anybody
again?
picking the Saints? Nobody's picking the Saints, right? We're all on the same page. We're
How
all
could
even.
you?
How terrible is this? We just picked. That's terrible. Okay. Can we ice people up and get the hell out of here?
I don't know. Can we?
All right. I'm gonna go with my ice up pick. It's controversial, and I gotta be cautious. Because I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lose my job or or get.
Oh shit.
Well,
Dave Chappelle.
The people, yeah, it is.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, it does go to the Dave Chappelle stuff, and I don't know how to say this in the right way, but I guess it comes with the punching down thing, and all right. So the idea is you can talk shit about whatever you want as long as that person is in a more of a position of power than you. Like whether it's right or wrong, it's the idea is like it's okay to talk shit about white people because I'm a minority. Whether it's right or wrong, right? Like I mean, at that point, it's just because I'm in my, or this. That's what I think punching down means is that you're punching down on a minority group, a minor group from a position of power. So they're upset that Dave Chappelle is punching down on transgender trans people or whatever.
They should watch that whole thing if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I watched it again,
Yeah.
trying to do some research today about not research, but form an opinion. Here's all I would say is that I find it petty to get upset when it only, or maybe not petty, selfish. I don't even know the right words, but when you only get angered and outraged because it has to do with something you're interested in rather than just something that is real and true. Right. And what I mean by that is I was watching the Dave Chappelle comic. He talked shit about Jews. He made fun of like all this stuff, and I think that was his point about the baby, the guy that was like, "Is you guys are mad about this?" And the guy is a murderer, and you didn't get upset. You didn't even get, and it's not even. It's just this. It's like you only get upset when things are related to you, and then you go out crazy. And so here, I do think comedians generally. I thought there was this thing called comedic license. Like, don't laugh if you think it's funny. If you don't think it's funny, type mentality. And I don't want to excuse. So I don't want somebody going around making. I don't know. You know what? He made a bunch of jokes about white people, like talking. And it's not like I'm walking away all outraged because
just laugh about it. Yeah.
Or turn it off.
Or turn it off. Exactly.
Change the channel.
Can I just
I just thought it was. I just think it's so ridiculous. That's the wrong words. I don't want to diminish anybody's position, but like, don't get it's you're only outraged because it's got to do with you, but you let the other crap that was just as bad. And the comedians that are upset with him, these trans. All right. So one thing I was reading about it, they said, oh, because he called them transgenders and he used it as a noun. I was like, God, that's what we're like. I mean, like, all right, I'm sorry that is the wrong way to use it. You're supposed to use that adjective, not as a noun, but that's what we're trying. All right. One. And then the other is the girl said, I didn't watch his show, but I know his jokes weren't funny. Like, you didn't even watch it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Did
the other
you see
thing.
his response yesterday?
Yeah, it's funny. It was
so
funny.
Fucking awesome.
It was.
Dude.
It's so
I
many.
love
And this
Dave
is where I
Chappelle.
give kudos to him. Is he don't back down. He just punches back.
Right.
He punches back. But I don't want to cause more outrage. I just don't think it's fair. Not fair. And I don't even, the world isn't fair. But for you to have a set of rules in one case, but then disregard them in another case is where I have a problem. It's like, oh, it's okay to talk about these people because I'm not Jewish. It's okay to talk trash about these people because I'm not this. But now that I am this, oh God. Well, I was laughing when you were talking about space Jews, but now I'm not laughing because you're talking about a girl peeing in the urinal standing up.
And so if I could like just add because I've been thinking a lot about this too, and I
ice up to these inequities. This is an inequity of outrage. That's where I'm icing up inequity of outrage.
Yeah, I love Dave Chappelle. I think the disconnect comes when the transgender community finds any critique of their movement as a direct act of violence. And the problem is that people in the trans community, they hear these jokes and they think that they equal violence. That Dave Chappelle saying these things is basically like him telling you, go punch a trans person under a bridge that's trying to shoot up heroin or something. Like, no, that's completely not it. And it's also funny because a lot of this has proven Dave Chappelle's point. He makes a joke in his stand-up where he's just having dinner and then these people are filming him, recording him on a phone, and he goes over and he realizes what it is, and there's a trans person there, and it's a tall, very strong trans woman, but it was also a white trans woman. And the first thing he did when Dave Chappelle confronted him was say, I'm going to call the cops. So the point that he was making is in that moment, that person wasn't trans anymore. They were just a white person using the cops as a thing over a black man. And that's kind of the whole point that was being made. And one of the people that are criticizing Dave Chappelle the most is a transgender white woman who is one of the heads of a show on Netflix. So it's kind of ended up only proving Dave Chappelle's point.
Right. Like the funny part, and you can't tell me you didn't laugh when he did the Caitlyn Jenner stuff, and it was like, and y'all girls ain't even.
Matt, dude, that was so funny, bro. He didn't even have a period or nothing, and he got the Woman of the Year.
Oh my God!
Or she got the Woman of the Year.
Did you see the two women in the audience?
Yeah, dude, they were so bummed out, man. You can tell they were not happy, man.
I thought that was so funny, bro.
And I think we're part of that group that he was talking about. They did not laugh a lick. There was two of them. Go back and look at it. They're in the middle.
I have to say this, and this is my
cold face, Mug.
Dude, I was laughing
he said
hysterically.
He punched that girl's titties like chicken cutlets. Or pounded. Dude, here's the thing: this is where I continue to get mad about it. Is I'm sitting there going, I know people who are outraged, and you say it all the time, virtue signaling, Cody.
Yeah,
is that I know so many people are laughing at these jokes, but then if you wanted to talk about it, they would be like.
Nope, but yeah, bottled up because I mean, there's a fear involved, and that's the problem with the way that this cancel culture is.
I'm gonna get canceled.
But here's the part that I'll say. Like, I thought 100% that he said that the best possible way that he could, because I mean, let's be real about it. That is how he feels, and if he's a comedian, that's a job. I'm gonna go up here and tell you about my life and how I feel. And I thought at the very end, it was I thought it was one of the greatest comedy specials that I've ever seen. And at the very end, when he said, you know, I'm just asking you to stop punching down on my people, right? Because like the hypocrisy of it all is just incredibly exhausting. That's what I absolutely hate about it. Is like he's talking about, you know, all of this stuff when they're doing the exact same thing to the people that are, you know, of you know, other more diverse cultures as well. Like they're not like it's not an you know. It's not a zero-sum game that they're the only ones being persecuted. Right now, there is so much problems with the country, and that leads me into my ice up, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, sure. Please.
So I'm having trouble feeling. I'm debating on whether I give you guys specifics about the relationship I have with this person. So I'm going to just be as vague as possible. There is somebody in my life that has been brought to my attention that their daughter was going to go to homecoming with a black boy, and the black boy couldn't make it. I can't remember his name, so I apologize if that's problematic that I'm calling him the black boy. And the woman, the mother of the girl that was trying to, who's a sophomore in high school, told her if she had known that she was going to be going to the homecoming with the black boy, that she was going to never let her go out of her house again. This is somebody who goes to church, who works for the county.
Welcome to America,
courts, right? And here's the problem I have with that, right? This is literally happening to the youth. And the moment I heard this, I was so outraged. I don't know what it was, but like it kind of popped off that moment in my mind where, like, if you don't believe racism is a problem in this country, I can guarantee you that at least some of you, if not all of you right here in chat and here, my co-hosts, know one person that absolutely is racist, knows at least one, right? And odds are, a family member that is at least one person that's absolutely racist, or an entire family, right?
But if you're the person that says there is no racism, then we all know you're the racist in the room,
right?
Like we kind of all know that, is that anyway?
It just it hurts it hurts me, to my core, because like what she's using an experience somebody else had. She works with a girl, and this is her justification. She works with a girl who said, I married a black man, I had kids, and there was just a difference in culture, and I wish I would have never done it. And now I'm a single mom raising 3 kids, right? One person's experience is dictating her opinion of an entire race of people, right? And that's not even the real reason. Like, that's just her excuse that she's giving out that in her mind sounds logical. And it goes all the way around. And I'm saying, like, and I'm not talking about just white people. Like, let's be honest. I'm talking about Asian people. You go home and you tell your Asian father, if you're an Asian daughter, that you're going to be going out with a white guy, there's a good portion of the population that's going to have a similar reaction, or vice versa. Anybody who from the Middle East, they're going to have an issue with you cross, what do they call? I guess.
I thought my man was going to say cross-pollinating.
Mixed races, right? And the fact that we live in the world we do today, and you actually Bleav, there is nothing that I can personally say, at least especially if you're a Christian or if you're a Catholic or anything, that puts you in a position where you can say, it is not right for you to go and have a relationship with a person of color. It's not right for you to date a white guy. It's not right for you to date a Muslim person. Right. There is not anything that you can put out there that's going to tell you that, like, in Christian, at least I can only tell you from this perspective, that's going to actually be a justification for you to be able to say that that's okay, that that's something that you should be doing. So for anybody who has that mindset, that the first reaction you have to somebody that you care about is going to be dating somebody of a different color, a different ethnicity, or a different culture, is to say, I'm going to disown you. Ice up, son.
Ice up.
Ice up.
Ice
Greg,
up.
you got one for us? Oh, wait, Cody, were you seconding mine, or you got your own too?
No, I mean, if Greg has one, you can go.
I got one. Mine's real quick. I'm just going to show
Yeah,
off
go ahead.
one of those shirts, and it kind of brings up my asset pick. I'm going to share a picture here. Let's see. Y'all have all known my feelings about the Brady hire and the Matt Rhule hire and everything else going on. So I've got, let's see, I think it's this one right here.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's my shirt that I made. It's a fuck Joe Brady shirt. It's kind of double meaning in this shirt, of course, but yeah, just copying a few things. Fuck Joe Brady. This guy's. I'm so upset that this guy's even in contention, or people talking about him being a head coach, because there's so many more people that are deserving. This guy's offense is vanilla. He refuses to adjust to anything. And he was handpicked by this coaching staff, or by Matt Rhule and Tepper and all them. So I mean, it's all on them, man. Like this whole entire crew is just totally fucked everything up. But tonight I'm focusing on Brady. Fuck the rest of them all the other time, but tonight I'm focusing on Brady. So that's my.
Is that a Joe Biden shirt?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I was in
slightly, but
Pennsylvania and I was driving
transparent.
down the road,
Huh?
and there was a flag that said "F Joe Biden." I was like, gosh, I mean, like,
I love Joe
tell
Biden
me how
because
you truly feel.
he keeps me entertained with these clips. Like it's just it's absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid for our country with him, with the way that he talks in public. I don't know what we have,
The way
but
that he
I love his
stammers in
clips.
public. He doesn't talk. Yeah, it's not even full sentences. It's horrible.
All right, go ahead, Cody. I just want to, unless you got a screen share to do, I'm just gonna play this while you do it. Have you guys seen this U-Haul joint?
No, what is it?
What is it?
Oh my god. It is all these guys pull into this
Hit
parking
the full
garage.
screen.
Oh no.
Okay.
What the fuck are they doing? Are they stuck now?
Yeah.
Oh, they're just a bunch of dumbasses.
We gotta get out. We gotta get out.
And it gets worse and worse. And
Are they
worse
trying to
and worse.
escape or what the hell?
Like they can't get out. They got into this parking garage. Can't get out.
How did they get in?
And look, because they came straight in and they're trying to turn. And then they
Is that the
but I thought that was
Dude,
sewage
is
at
that
first, but
shit?
no, that's what I thought at first, but I think it's just because it's old and sprinkler
sediment.
system.
Oh yeah.
But look, it just keeps.
Bro, at what point do you not know that you're making it worse? Like, come on, you're
What do
just
you
bouncing
do?
around, fucking knocking
Well,
everything
what do you
off.
do? You abandon it? You abandon ship? You just leave it?
Just run and leave everything in the back.
Dude, the
somebody
first
stole it. Call the police immediately. Somebody stole my U-Haul.
What were they
It
doing?
gets even
Like, what were
worse.
they
It gets
trying to
It's
do?
like not even close. Like this is just the good part. Like this is like them doing their best. And then
What
he
were
starts
they-
to get frustrated. Look, he's getting real frustrated. And he's gonna it's like the most. I couldn't stop giggling at this. Here it comes. This is where he starts doing it because he keeps hitting the top. And they're like, "What are we hitting?" You're like, "Hit the wall, homie."
Dude, I don't.
It's
What
the
were they there
best.
for? Like, what? But they were just
They're trying
to.
to.
Get
I
out
think
of-
they're trying to move into this apartment complex, and they come down in this. Well, that's what I
There
assume.
goes their security deposit.
Damn, he still got stuck.
He finally got through that.
I mean, just look at the very
Call it
beginning. This is where they
quits.
come in, Cody. Look, this is them coming in right here. So they come in,
And they already are hitting that. They're
and
disregarding
then
the.
like, but see, so they can't go any. The only way to get out is to go straight back right now. But then they hit that, and they're like, "Oh God!" And why were they just going forward there? Don't know.
Dude,
But look, he hits that. You see at the top right there. He hits the top, and then top, and they hit the top. Oh, it's so good.
so yeah,
I
I'm icing
giggled and
up,
giggled and giggled.
I'm icing up Alec Baldwin. I don't know if any of you have heard this story, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why
Dude,
are
it's
you icing
actually
him
fucking-
up?
No, because I'll tell you exactly why. So when you first hear this story, it's made to sound like, oh, dude, it's just a big accident and poor Alec Baldwin, and he never meant to blah blah blah. Well, okay, so a little backstory. They had a gun on the set of this movie called Rust, and there was like a blank in the gun, but he still shot it at one of the set directors, and it ended up killing them. Now, apparently he was told it was a cold gun, meaning that there was nothing in it. So Alec Baldwin didn't think that there was anything in the gun. But what you come to find out is that a bunch of other actors and set people had walked off of set a few weeks before because they were telling everyone that, hey man, that these incidents have been happening with guns misfiring, unhealthy work environments, unsafe work environments. People felt like their health was at risk on that job. And another thing that you don't realize is that Baldwin was a producer on the film. So all of these things that were happening, he knew that they were going on, and he still felt the need to hold a gun and point it at someone. The last I heard is a very real possibility that they're going to put criminal charges against him.
It was shot at a time that was not filming, at two people who were not acting in the film.
Right.
You know? And the person who was killed, there's also a tinfoil hat political aspect to it. The person who was killed, the law firm, had a lot to do with a lot of legal aspects with the Trump administration. So there's
I started to see.
I mean,
some
there's
of
a
this
lot of.
too.
I mean, of course, that's tinfoil hat stuff. I'm not saying anything like that.
Right.
Okay, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that goes on with this, and there were apparently 4 or 5 guns on the table, and all of them were supposed to be checked and cleared by the weapons at arms. And I don't know if you heard the girl who was the weapons at arms person was on a podcast 2 weeks before talking about how she didn't know how to do her job.
Right.
And they have on a radio show I was listening to, they played that on that podcast, talking about she didn't know how to do her job, but now she thinks she knows how to load blanks. So that way it doesn't empty chambers and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting, you know?
Yeah, and
ice up this Vikings fan too. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for tuning in. But that's messed up. And but still, how do you even get it confused? Like you just
also
blanks.
the armorer is supposed to be the one that hands the guns to people, but it wasn't the armorer. It was like one of the assistant producers or whatever went up and handed him the gun. So
Like
yeah,
Joe
man,
Biden
dude, there's
fan.
a lot of shit going on. Alec Baldwin was a producer. You see a lot of people like protecting him and stuff because for the most part, he's he's a very democratic guy. He's very outspoken. He's a activist of a lot of different sorts. So a lot of people are kind of jumping to defend him, as in everything in today's world. Everything is made to be political. The Republican Democrat thing. But dude, the sad part that gets lost in all of this is that someone died, man. Someone died once again due to the incompetency of the Hollywood film industry. And it's not going to stop happening unless shit like this really changes, man.
Yeah,
so
and it's not
I'm
the first
icing
time.
up. Yeah, I'm icing up Alec Baldwin. Dude, I think it's a sad situation. And it could have been prevented on a lot of different fronts. But yeah, man, ice up.
All right. Ice up to it being 12:41. Let's get the hell out of here. You see the handles on the screen. We'll be back tomorrow night. Debate my take. Beat check. See you guys later. My wife's mad at me. I'm mad at her. Get the hell out of here.
Peace and love.
Oh, he's out. He didn't end it. He said, I'm
He's having
out.
one of those, man.
It's my job anyway. I'll do it. Peace and love, y'all. Keep pounding. Until next time.